I got up this morning and I thought to myself, what a lovely day we're going to have today. And then I opened the door to take the pupper out this AM, bright and early. And as I did, I was overtaken by this sense of wonder, this sense of amazement, this sense that something is very right with the world. Something has happened here that we have to embrace. Something has happened here that I think it is important that we all acknowledge. Because as I opened the door to take the pupper out this morning, there was just this vibe in the air. The first thought that I had was, y'all, it's hoodie weather outside. Now, granted, it's fake fall, right? Like we all know this isn't it. This isn't it.
All right, it might be hoodie weather if you're really skinny like you.
202.
Yeah, I know. So it might be hoodie weather for you.
Pretty pumped about that. It's for me, it was hoodie weather when I opened the door. Now it's not going to stay there. It'll probably be back up in the mid 80s by the end of the day. But this AM at 3:45 this morning, when I opened the door, it felt pretty good. And then I got into the car. And as I was driving to work, ordinarily,
I don't know if that's accurate or not, but
60.
No, that says 59, dude.
No, right now I'm saying by 9 a.m. end of the show, it's 54, threatening the 60s. So maybe it is. Again, false fall. It's not real fall. It's simply Mother Nature feeling a sense of healing. Yeah, okay. All right.
I'm just saying, cool nights for the foreseeable future, supposedly.
The work has been put in to the outside fire pit, or as I have decided to name it, Rob's Football Fiesta Fairgrounds for 2025.
Okay, I was going to say, have you christened
the
actual fire pit?
Rob's Football Fiesta Fairgrounds, open for business, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, this weekend's project, I don't know if I trust myself yet. I want to drill a TV mount into the brick of the house and have an outdoor, because they make outdoor TVs. I want to get an outdoor TV and just have a permanent TV out there, but I don't know if I trust myself to anchor. I'll trust myself inside into the studs and drywall. I don't know if I trust myself to drill into brick in it. So we'll see.
Yeah, because if that brick crumbles, you're going to be in trouble.
That's exactly right. So I've drilled other stuff in. I just don't know if I'm comfortable hanging, because if I do this, I'm hanging up like 100-inch outdoor TV out there.
Wow.
So
when he says open for business, he's not talking about, you guys listening.
Yeah, no. I mean, some of you may catch an invite at some point, but like you got to come out, see me in public. You got to make friends first. All right. Now, blah, 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 blah. I walked outside. I said, yo, it's hoodie weather. And I feel like this is Mother Nature. This is Gaia herself acknowledging that it is not just football week. It's football eve. Because again, much like last Friday.
Did you see Captain Planet on your journey walking your dog?
I did not.
Okay.
We did have a black bear hit our trash can 2 nights ago though.
Ooh.
Yeah, we got a bear in the hood now, for sure. Like the next door app was going crazy with people like, it's a bear. Like, relax, guys, relax. You didn't even know it was there.
Yeah, like you walked out and saw that bear, you wouldn't be concerned.
No, I grew up around black bears. Like I've seen them 100 times in my life. They're like, so they will run from you.
Just go up and wrestle.
Literally just yell at the bear. It will run away. All right. Now, when I say, I don't mean like take off your shirt like you're going to Vladimir Putin the bear. All right. I'm just saying, just put your arms in there and go, hey, bear. And they're going to run away from you. Now, as I embrace the hoodie weather and recognize that even Mother Nature herself was recognizing the greatness to be bestowed upon all of us tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. down in Tampa, Florida, when USF hosts Boise State, a team that has aspirations of making it to the college football playoff for the second consecutive year. Do the Blue Turf Smurfs? No, again, not the sexiest slate of games tomorrow, but football nonetheless. But Saturday is one day closer. ladies and gentlemen. And then I got in the car and I was driving to work, and I decided today, ordinarily, I will acknowledge that while I listen to podcasts and radio shows from around the country ordinarily throughout the day, just to get a vibe what the national conversation is, what folks are saying about the teams we cover from outside of our market, I tuned into a college football centric podcast, and you can tell that everybody in the game is feeling the buzz right now. And then I got to the office and I'm already feeling good. I get out of the car here in the parking lot at, 4 o'clock, whatever it was. I get out of the car. I embrace one last time before I come upstairs. I embrace the hoodie weather outside. I come upstairs and I sit down because, one of the things that I needed to spend a few minutes doing this morning was taking another look at the cuts made by the Carolina Panthers and other NFL teams in the NFC South, other moves that got made yesterday. For instance, the New Orleans Saints, the final team to acknowledge their QB1, and it is indeed #Rat Daddy season down in New Orleans, Louisiana. We'll come to that.
Yeah, because when I saw that, I was like, oh, no.
It's Rat Daddy season, baby.
I'm happy for him as someone who also pulls for the Gamecocks, but I know I'm going to have to deal with that nickname all year.
Rat Daddy.
Unless he does poorly and gets pulled.
It's Rat Daddy season. So I sat down at the desk and I got prepared to go look at the Carolina cuts from yesterday, go look at the Saints cuts from yesterday, see if there were any roster shocks as the NFL teams were obligated to get down to their 53-man roster yesterday. Obviously, yesterday you were going to see some names that maybe became contract casualties. You're going to see some names that were maybe injuries or guys that teams are trying to get stashed onto their practice squad to keep them for later on in the year or their career or whatever. I expected, obviously, despite the fact that I was paying attention yesterday to cut day, I expected today to see a couple of moves that you go, oh, okay, that one's pretty interesting. And then as I was looking through, and yes, Kane, the Carolina Panthers did, and I mean this, the single biggest shock of cut day yesterday was Hunter Renfrow catching the axe from the Panthers while the Panthers kept 7 receivers. That blew my mind yesterday. In fact, one of the last things I said yesterday.
Adam Thielen is still a Panther.
He is still a Panther.
Okay.
And the cut of Hunter Renfrow leads me to believe that one of two things, because Hunter Renfrow is a vested veteran, that means immediate free agency for him. He can sign with anybody as of yesterday. He does not have to go through the waiver process. Based on where you are in your NFL service, you earn the right to either dramatically shorten your waiver period or, in the case of Hunter Renfrow, to skip your waiver period altogether, and Hunter Renfrow will do so. So there's one of two realities. Either I misread the Hunter Renfrow situation entirely, or the Carolina Panthers are still looking at a potential trade to send Adam Thielen to the Vikings, and Hunter Renfrow's not going to go anywhere. Because remember, when he signed with Carolina, the story went that he told his agent, I do not want to go anywhere where I have to fit onto a team. I want to go to a team that already fits me. And he believed that the Carolina Panthers and Dave Canales were that team. There's also the fact that Hunter Renfrow lives in North Carolina, and that was a hometown squad for him. I think it is somewhat possible, perhaps. Maybe this is just me being the eternal optimist that I obviously am at all times. There's also the possibility that maybe Carolina was looking at this. Hunter Renfrow said, if you guys need to take some time to figure out what the deal is with Adam Thielen, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'll take the axe for now, and I'll just be ready to come back when you call me. I don't know what the case is. But that was a big shock yesterday. We're going to talk about that later on in the show, because that was not the most shocking NFL move from yesterday. That was not the most shocking transaction that took place yesterday. It was not Spencer Rattler, Rat Daddy, being named QB1 for the Saints. It was not Shedeur Sanders, unsurprisingly, in my opinion, being named officially to the Browns roster. He is the third quarterback behind Dillon Gabriel. I think that shapes up exactly with the theory that I had about the plans for Shedeur by the Cleveland Browns. We'll get to that. Deshaun Watson going on the PUP list, eligible for return in Week 5, though the belief is that he won't. We'll talk about that. All of that needs to get discussed on the show today, and all of it will. That was not the most shocking move. I sat down in front of the computer monitor this morning. I was listening to a little music as I was getting ready for the show in the Fortress of Nerditude this AM. And I had to stop because across my computer screen came a clip of Adam Schefter discussing the biggest move in the NFL yesterday.
Apparently, Shefty, there's some news coming out of Kansas City today. The biggest news of all this week, RC, in a time when the NFL is making hundreds of roster moves. The biggest transaction came recently when Travis Kelce proposed to Taylor Swift. Everybody been waiting for this news. It might have been as expected. It doesn't make it any less dramatic. This is huge news, a big development for the future Hall of Fame tight end in Kansas City. He looks very happy, RC, doesn't he? Very happy. He and Taylor look very happy. And now we can say that Jason Kelce, our colleague Jason Kelce, is going to be the brother-in-law of the great entertainer Taylor Swift. What a love story. What an ending. What a move in a week filled with them. That is the biggest move that we've seen this week.
That was a wonderful setup, by the way, because I'm like, what is he talking about? And then he got there. So well done.
Thanks. I'm good at radioing. Ladies and gentlemen,
I just want to say a poor choice of music, though. Are they trying to find something that sounds Taylor Swiftish? Is that what they were doing?
That's my guess. Little background.
I would have went with some heartfelt stuff. I mean, be a little more romantic.
Different strokes for different folks. I personally, and I may be biased, I personally think that a finger-picked acoustic guitar is maybe the most romantic instrument. All right, there's finger-picked electric guitar for romance, and then there's a straight-up saxophone for when you're getting into the other side of the equation. Yeah, but like, we're not talking about the Queen of America, TAYTAY, this way. All right, Trav might, T-Rav might. That's his fiance now, y'all. I'm not talking about the Queen of America, Taylor Swift, with this vibe. This is
okay. All right.
This is not romance. This is another emotion that frequently leads to the same outcome if you play your cards right. But we're not talking about Queen Swiftie like that. All right, we're better than that. This is not a show that devolves into sophomore comments. We're better than that. We're above that. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you all to go ahead and start preparing for America's first royal wedding. All right, here's the deal. And by the way, I set all that up. I obviously knew about this yesterday. All right, because the phone exploded about 2:00 in the afternoon yesterday. The phone exploded yesterday. I was sitting in the room because I did yesterday. If you missed it, it is on my YouTube channel. I will be uploading it, as a matter of fact, here during the break to the Fan Upstate's YouTube channel as well. I did a little film study on South Carolina's new running back, Rayshon Fasole, yesterday. I did a little film study. I did a little breakdown. I went back and pulled. Face on. Yeah, face on. I went yesterday and I pulled some film from his game last year when Utah State played the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. 23 carries, 191 yards, and a couple of tutties. And I pulled a couple of clips from Face On that I think really put on display the reason that Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks are excited about having this kid in the backfield. So I've got that up on my social media right now. I've got it on my YouTube channel, and it will be up on the Fan Upstage channel here in just a few minutes from now if you're interested in that. So I was sitting down yesterday because I am a gigantic nerd, and I watched game film for like 2 hours. I watched game film to pull the 6 or 7 plays that I think best really illustrate 1,000%.
All right, I hate this. I mean, because I had my Cartwell memorized, and you know, we got a new computer, and now nothing's where it was.
Champions rise to the occasion, Lonzo.
Yeah, I know.
Slap the sign.
I will memorize this. If I slap something, it'll break. So no.
So
if I slap that monitor, it might hit you in the head. So I'm not going to do that.
Please don't. So I sat down yesterday to do a little film study. I was an hour and a half minutes deep into watching every run that this kid made last year for the Utah State Aggies. And then all of a sudden, ping, 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 ping. I keep my phone on vibrate during the day, but if I'm going to lock in on something on the computer, I'll switch it to loud because if I am really locked in on something, if I can power through the ADHD and get locked in on something, it is the one time that my phone becomes like detached from me. It's not a reality anymore. So I changed it to loud. And as I sat there watching game film to put together a little film study of Face On, ping, 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 and I'm like, what in the name of all that is sacred and holy in the football world is happening? And I kind of assume, well, it's NFL cut day. We are now less than 2 hours away from the deadline. Obviously, something dramatic has happened in the NFL. And as I open my phone, it is the wife, it is the mom, it is a couple of my young cousins from back down in Florida. It is 2 or 3 of the girlfriends, the friends who are girls. Let's be quick. Rob Brown is only talented enough to disappoint one woman at a time in my life. All right.
That's a quick catch. You even caught it before I helped you.
Yep.
So way to go.
Yep. I'm dumb, but I ain't dumb. It was just the phone exploded. T-Rav and TAYTAY are engaged officially. Those of you who over the past couple of years have been enraged by the amount of Taylor Swift attention during NFL season, oh God, you ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing yet. It's a love story, baby. Just say yes. Banger. Absolutely banger. Like I do. I mean, slapper, what do you want? Good for T-Rav is all I'm saying.
Did you say slapper?
Slapper.
It
is a slapper. The song slaps.
You said it's not like you said slapper. I wanted,
I wear T-shirts. She's
How can you
cheer
hate this?
captain, and I'm on the bleachers. When you wake up and find that what you're looking for has been here the whole time. If you could see the way, dude, it's a banger. What do you want? If you hate happiness and joy and love and romance, then today's not for you. All right. I am happy that our princess and Prince Charming have found their happily ever after. Good for them. All right. And I will go ahead and say that between Joe and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 texts that I've gotten so far, some of you hate love. All right. Some of you hate joy and romance and passion and happiness, and I feel for you. We should all be today as a nation at a point in time where this nation is divided on everything. We fight over everything. Here's a moment that we can all come together, hold hands, and celebrate America's first royal wedding. And you're all flaming me and literally cussing me out on the text line, which, by the way, is 844-326-3663.
You should be mad at me too. I'm the one playing the song.
Yeah, I don't have no control over the music, for the record.
And I chose that particular one because,
ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, jokes aside, we got a show. What does LSU Clemson mean to LSU and Clemson? What is the message South Carolina needs to send on Sunday against Virginia Tech? What can we learn from the updated betting odds around America? We're jumping into all of it on the radio program. He's the great one, Lonzo. I am Rob Brown. It's a day for love and romance here on the Fan Upstate. Jersey Joe, I definitely did not do that just for fun to see the reaction I was going to get. And it's exactly the one I got, like for the last text that said, and I quote, bleep you, who gives a bleep, end quote. A straight up F you. Incredible.
See, most of that's fake. Most of that, everybody else is outraged, so it's cool to be outraged. Don't be that person. I mean, if you're genuinely outraged, you need counseling probably. But, I mean, how can you be mad about that? Yes, it's going to get a bunch of coverage. So what?
Listen.
She's like the most famous person in the world. Of course it's going to get coverage.
Like once every handful of years, y'all make me go through another royal wedding that I could not give a damn less about. Yeah, I'm gonna celebrate a little love here. I am. She's cheer captain and I'm on the bleachers. Worried about the game.
Term life insurance. For affordable term life insurance, call Big Lou. Don't hesitate. Call 800-700-6898.
We set a Guinness Book. Sure. That's right. Thanks to the one and only Taylor Swift for hopping on and I to talk with two complete idiots that don't know anything about the music industry. And it was a doozy. So get ready for a much lower bar this week. But before we get to that, there is one.
Actually, I need to go finish that episode.
We did record this podcast on Monday, which was Travis's one day off. So he is not here to address this himself, but we felt necessary as a team here at the Knights to get together and send Travis and Taylor a giant congratulations for being engaged. Yeah! The proposal heard around the world! Yeah!
They fixed the thing, by the way. So the audio comes back here, so I'm able to go into queue and listen to computer.
Gotcha.
So I'm not hearing
But the
mute.
phone's not fixed.
Hey, the loop
Right?
was off. So hello, everyone.
Okay.
It's my fault for not looking for the loop. I'm so excited about the wedding. You know, just.
News at 5:22 on Tuesday's show. It's all college football.
Diesel and Cole Bryson really bring it on wire to wire.
Turn it on and leave it on.
So you think guys hate that so much? How is she encroaching on football? I don't understand it. I don't. Haters, man.
Guys, we were really just having fun to open the show. That's all there was to it. Relax.
I don't think you have to defend it. I don't understand the hatred. I really don't. I don't get it. And don't say, well, it's because Travis Kelce's on your team. And yes, in my mind, you do sound like that. Just like Rob thinks I sound like that. It's just no. Just stop, man. It's faux outrage. It's not even real. You ain't really mad.
Look,
You secretly have her on your playlist. It's okay.
It's not even a secret for me. I love some
No,
TAYTAY.
I'm talking to them. We know.
Here's what it comes down to. Jokes aside, like for real, what it comes down to is I think pop culture is so pervasive in this country. It is everything, right? Like hell, there is an entire multi-billion-dollar industry that is just about trends and fads and celebrities and whatnot. And for a lot of dudes that maybe don't really care or get into that, which is 1000% fine. Honestly, like outside of sports, I'm not really a big celebrity guy, right? Like I don't really care all that much. Outside of sports, I think a lot of dudes treat football as their sanctuary, as their safe space. This is why, and we've said this a bunch, this is why so many people are so upset about the changes that have been going on in college football, because it's always been kind of a sanctuary that you can, again, I know it's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason, kind of escape the real world, right? Like when South Carolina's playing, when Clemson's playing, when Ohio State's playing, when Texas is playing, if you're an NFL guy on Sundays from 1 p.m. until 11:30 at night on Monday, nothing outside of what happens between the sideline and the sideline and the goal line and the goal line matters. I'm not worried about the stock market. I'm not worried about anything that's happening in the world. And Taylor Swift being the most, I'm not talking about Taylor Swift the whole segment. I just want to make this point and then we're moving on. Taylor Swift being the celebrity right now, right? Like she is the, as Lonzo pointed out, probably most popular person on the planet. She is a billionaire. T-Rav is one of the highest paid players in the NFL, and she dwarfs him in terms of net value, overall value, and popularity. Dwarfs him. So
yeah, it's rough when you're a multimillionaire and she's the sugar mama.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, because
and don't get me wrong, as somebody who got himself a successful independent woman, good on you, T-Rav.
Yeah, same
now,
here. So
I think the reason that a lot of people get exhausted by it is because if Taylor Swift is in any way, shape, or form in proximity to National Football League football, they don't show her. Like she becomes a part of the broadcast. If I got to listen to Chris Collinsworth, even I, as a self-proclaimed Swiftie, if I got to listen to Chris Collinsworth awkwardly jam another Taylor Swift song lyric into a take about football, like it's going to make me pull my hair out. And I love TAYTAY.
Come on. I'd rather hear Collinsworth do that than go Josh Allen, Josh Allen, Josh Allen, Josh Allen.
The best part about
that's more annoying than anything Taylor Swift.
The best point about this is you just going right over the fact that Chris Collinsworth glazes Patrick Mahomes like he's sponsored by him.
He does not.
He does not. Stop it.
He does not.
Stop it.
Oh, you're becoming one of them.
No, I'm not one of them.
No.
I'm a guy who watches every Chris Collinsworth.
You know what this is, Rob Brown? I'm using your full name. It's disrespectful.
Oh, there it is. We get it started, ladies and gentlemen. So I think the reality is when you watch a game that in any way, shape, or form has a connection to Taylor Swift, which is primarily the Chiefs, and you add on to the fact that over the past 8 years, the Kansas City Chiefs have been the franchise. It feels like your sanctuary has been penetrated and violated by the pop culture world, by the celebrity world, and on top of that, and this is the part that I think is the big deal. Even those of you who maybe watch the NFL casually, right? Like you're not a hardcore, you're a casual viewer of the NFL. She brings with her a bunch of football fans who could not care less about football. They're there for Taylor, but the coverage becomes about them because there are, I'm gonna take a stab at it, probably as many Swifties as there are NFL fans nationwide. So the coverage becomes about her because that is not just a demo they have access to. Football's never had access to, but it's a massive one.
There might actually be more.
There might be
fans, yes.
But it is simply about the fact that there's as many of them, if not more, than there are football fans. So it becomes about her because they have access to a demographic, the NFL does, that they've never really had access to before, and they want to keep them in the fold as long as they can. And if the hook there is TAYTAY, that's the hook. That's it. That's the hook. We have hooks on this show, right? If I ever get to the point where the text line slowed down or the live stream viewing numbers go down or whatever, we got our hooks we can always lean on and go back to that we know is gonna spike participation. At the end of the day, any form of broadcasting, is an attention gathering endeavor and nothing else. Your favorite podcast is an attention gathering effort. Every TV show. What do they talk about the Cowboys all the time? Because there's more Cowboys fans than any other NFL team, just empirically and statistically. So they're going to talk about them because they want to make sure that they touch the largest fan base that is likely to be tuned in. And while there are more collective non-Cowboys fans than there are Cowboys fans, at the end of the day, yeah, you got X amount of minutes in a broadcast. And you can't really say we're going to do the biggest story from all 32 NFL teams in an hour. So you got to touch the biggest ones. And that means you got to touch the biggest demo. I think that's where it comes from, is just the reality that even if you're a Swiftie, you have to acknowledge the NFL as a attention-seeking maneuver are always going to get whatever they can get to grab that demo. My wife loves college football. She's not a huge NFL person. She likes the Saints because she married me and they got Spencer Rattler. But like, she's not, I base my week around what time are the Saints playing this week. She doesn't. But if she finds out TAYTAY's at a game, whether Trav's playing or not, which he always is, but you get it. Now that's an event for her. If the Chiefs are playing on Monday Night Football and TAYTAY's going to be there, she will text me and be like, hey, Taylor's at the game tonight. Are we watching? Like, sure, why not? They're happy just to see her on a screen. And I get it. I understand that.
Wow. I'm wondering when you're going to have Chiefs gear in your household, especially since she's not on tour right now. So there's a good shot she's at every single game.
I do not have Chiefs gear. You know what I do have? And I bought it for the Super Bowl the first year they were together. I have a red shirt with the number 87 in Chiefs yellow. And instead of Kelsey on the back, it says Taylor's boyfriend across it. I absolutely own that shirt. I have not brought myself to get rid of it. I guess I have to upgrade it now to Taylor's fiance. All right, we're putting that aside. We're done with that. All right, we're done with that. Relax. Jacob just texted the show, said, I'm listening to Taylor Swift right now, getting over the breakup of Hunter Renfrow and my Carolina Panthers. Yeah, I got to tell you, that one kind of didn't sit well with me yesterday, to be honest. That was without a doubt.
Maybe there was a lot of hype there and not substance. Maybe we only saw bits and pieces, and maybe he doesn't fit the way everyone seemed to think he did.
It's very fair. It's very fair. Again, you get during preseason, you get two opportunities to go eyeballs on. You get the preseason games themselves, right? And then you get the propaganda from the teams. This is why I tell people, and maybe I fell for it. Maybe I didn't listen to my own advice a little bit, but I tell people all the time, when you see clips coming out of practices that make a dude look great, keep in mind that if it comes from the team, that's 0.05% of what that guy's doing in practice.
Wow.
And if it comes from a media and fan participation, keep in mind, teams go out of their way to limit the access of media to preseason practices, which means when they do go in front of cameras, ordinarily, they're going through the stuff that they do all the time, the most comfortable stuff. So, of course, those guys should look the most comfortable doing it. And I wonder if I didn't fall for the propaganda a little bit, or
it's where we live. This is not a criticism, but you're going to get people who lean towards Clemson wanting him to make the team, and they should. So I think there's going to be a little more positive towards that in this area because, and again, I'm not being critical. It's someone who played in the area. Of course you want them to make the team that's covered in the area.
I don't disagree with that. I know that again, I'm married to one. I know that there are a lot of people who followed that because they want a Clemson guy on that team along with the South Carolina guys. And I get that. And I'm good with that. But I would also say this story had some national attention. And we'll talk more about it coming up in the next segment of the show because I do think it is a big deal. But Rashad Beard was hype about Hunter Renfrow. He's not a Clemson guy. He's got zero connections to the schools in the upstate. Shefty, when the signing got made that Hunter Renfrow was grabbing the team, he went in on it. Like, this was because of the fact that he had to walk away from the NFL due to health issues, this was a story a lot of people were excited about. And I do wonder, and we will talk about this in the next segment, how much of this was just us pulling for a great story, right? A comeback story. America loves a comeback story. How much of this was us pulling for a great story?
American.
How much of this was we were pulling for a Clemson guy to join the Carolina team? How much of this was I really thought I had watched enough to say, yeah, this dude's one of the best 7 receivers on the roster, because the shocking point isn't just that they cut Hunter Renfrow yesterday. The shocking part about it was that they cut him and kept 7 receivers on the roster and 4 tight ends on top of that. So when we come back, let's talk about the cut. Let's talk about what led to Hunter Renfrow getting the cut, and let's put on our tinfoil caps. Could there be a little bit of a undiscussed conspiracy brewing with this move? That's up next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys. Good morning, everybody. Live read. We're coming right back. Stay right there for me, please. And thank you. said yesterday she was ready to go buy her Hunter Renfrow Panthers jersey as her merch acquisition this year. And I'll keep it a buck. I was pulling for the kids, still am. And the reason I still am is I wonder if there's not maybe a deeper reason for the cut of Hunter Renfrow. Now, maybe I should walk down the hallway to Captain America, Chris Evans, down the hall's office, and I should grab his tinfoil cap to throw it on for this segment because, self-acknowledged, it is a bit of a conspiracy theory. But you will recall that yesterday on the show, we talked about the fact that the Minnesota Vikings were having a conversation with the Carolina Panthers to potentially send Adam Thielen back to Minnesota. And the only reason that had not happened yet was an inability to compromise on compensation. The Cats were obviously going to want quite a bit in return for Adam Thielen, who has been a better than expected, I think even people optimistic about Adam Thielen, a better than expected performer. For a guy like me who said, yeah, I'm not really comfortable with a 30-plus-year-old short white guy running the number one spot, I was blown away.
You know what he is? At least this is my opinion why they kept Thielen and got rid of Renfrow is there's one receiver all last season that Bryce Young had chemistry with, and that was Adam Thielen.
I don't disagree.
So, I mean, if you get rid of that guy, the guy that you know that he's the most comfortable with, that's going to set him back a little bit, I think. So
I completely agree.
Give him, you let him keep his comfort while he works in the new guys.
This is why I said yesterday on the show, if this deal goes through that sends Adam Thielen back to Minnesota, it is going to be at a price that Vikings fans are going to go, did we really just give up that much for a slot wide receiver? Because he would be a slot wide receiver. He would go up there to Minnesota. He would have 4 weeks where he would be playing primarily wide receiver 2 because the Vikings are going to be without their starting wide receiver, Jordan Addison, who is suspended for 4 games. Got a DUI. And if I recall correctly, was not actively driving the car. He was asleep behind the wheel of a car in a parking lot, not driving, but was passed out drunk, caught a DUI. That is still going to get you 90% of the time, and took a 4-game suspension. So Adam Thielen would have been primarily wide receiver 2 for 4 weeks. And then he would have, as Addison moved back to wide receiver 2, he would move to wide receiver 3. And I think for the Carolina Panthers, who Lonzo is absolutely correct, Adam Thielen has been not just a security blanket. I think it would be a different conversation if Adam Thielen was just a security blanket for Bryce Young, right? Just a guy that you go, all right, if everything's covered up, I know Adam Thielen is going to be somewhere around the sticks, right? I just need to look at the sticks. Thielen's going to find a way to get open. Adam Thielen has been a all over the field performer for Bryce Young the last couple of years. Even when things were going poorly, the one bright spot you could look at early in the year last year before Bryce got benched was he had a connection with Adam Thielen. So my belief here is that when it comes down to it, Adam Thielen provides too much of a security blanket for Bryce Young to let him go for anything less than a return on investment that would feel like you were trading a number 2 overall wide receiver, even though, and this is why I think this deal is not done. I'm not saying I think one will get done. In fact, quite the opposite. I think Adam Thielen's a Panther this year. I do not think he gets sent to Minnesota. I could be wrong, but I don't think he does because I think Carolina is going to say, hey, Minnesota, this guy is our number 2 wide receiver. Right? Even if Xavier Legette is the number 2 wide receiver, Adam Thielen, until Xavier Legette proves that the dropsies are gone, Adam Thielen is our number 2 wide receiver. So if you want to bring the guy back home for a feel-good story, you're going to have to compensate us as if he was a number 2 wide receiver. that is still very much in the cards, especially if early in the season, because in the NFC North, the Minnesota Vikings do not have a lot of wiggle room. That is one of the, if it's not the best, it is no worse than the second best division in football. There are 3 teams, I think, that can realistically win that division this year: the Vikings, the Lions, and the Packers. And there's a lot of folks who are making picking the Chicago Bears to win that division a trendy pick. I'm not there. I think the Bears are going to be much better. I'm not ready to say they're up there with the Lions or the Vikings just yet. And if my guy Ryan Horvat is correct, he thinks the Packers are going to be in the mix as well.
Keep saying a Vikings, so you trust in the quarterback. Okay.
I trust in the head coach.
All right.
He took Kirk Cousins to the playoffs. He took Sam Darnold to the playoffs, right? Like, I don't think, here's where I've arrived.
JJ McCarthy is at least comparable with those 2 guys.
Here's why I'm giving a bit of, I don't know if optimism's the right word, but because I can't come up with one better, I'll use it right now. A bit of optimism for JJ McCarthy. If the guy who was able to turn Kirk Cousins into a playoff guy, who then went and got $100 million from the Atlanta Falcons and wasn't that, if he was able to take Sam Darnold, and granted, I think Sam Darnold, one of those quarterbacks that got a raw deal, the Jets were a dumpster fire, the Panthers were a dumpster fire when he played for those teams. So maybe Sam Darnold has a Baker Mayfield renaissance in Seattle this year. We'll see. But until he does, I'm looking at Kevin O'Connell, who took Kirk Cousins and he took Sam Darnold. He made him playoff guys. And he said, JJ McCarthy's good enough to be my guy. I'll trust him for now, right? Like, I think he's earned that. So unless things go real poorly for the Minnesota Vikings right out of the gate, which is absolutely a possibility, unless things go poorly for the Vikings right out of the gate, if they do, then I think Adam Thielen is back in the mix. They got Chicago, Atlanta, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh that they will have to play without Addison before they get Cleveland, the bye in week 6, Philly, the Chargers, the Lions. Listen to that schedule. After the bye week, Philly, the Chargers, the Lions, the Ravens, the Bears, the Packers in a 6-game spread. They could go anywhere from 4-2 to 1-5 in that stretch, honestly, depending on what JJ McCarthy is. So I think Carolina can keep Adam Thielen in a conversation with Minnesota. And if stuff really bleeps the bed in Minneapolis, then maybe Adam Thielen does become worth a 2nd-round pick. Now, the question is about Hunter Renfrow at that point, because Hunter Renfrow has enough NFL service that he is not on the waiver wire this morning, right? If you get cut yesterday and you don't have enough service earned, you go on the waiver wire and you are prioritized to teams that were further down the draft order last year. That is obviously a way to increase parity across the league. The worse you are, the more right you have to pick up waiver guys and make your team better. However, part of the collective bargaining agreement, once you are in the league, and I don't remember what all the metrics are, but Hunter Renfrow has been in the league long enough that he doesn't go on the waiver wire. He's available to anybody. Here's my question. When Renfrow got signed by the Panthers, the story was going around that he told his agent, I only want to go to a place where I fit in. I do not want to have to go and change my game to fit an offense. And I don't want an offense to have to change to fit me. I want to go play for an offense I fit in. And Hunter Renfrow lives in the Carolinas, is very partial to the Carolinas, wanted to stay in the Carolinas. The Panthers worked out. So the question mark now is, even though he is a free agent, eligible to be picked up by anybody, and there are absolutely a few teams who will objectively get better by having him on the roster today, is it possible that there was some sort of wink, wink, finger gun agreement between Hunter Renfrow and the Panthers that he says, look, guys, I want to stay in Carolina. I'm either playing for you or I'm not playing. So I'll just stay out here, right? If you want me, I'll be here ready for you. And if anybody calls his agent and goes, hey, we want to pick up Hunter off the waiver wire, the agent goes, yeah, he's not coming to play for you. He's either playing in Carolina or he's not playing. Is this some sort of wink, wink, nudge, nudge agreement between the two of them that we'll see him just hanging out in case Thielen gets traded, or if one of the other wide receivers gets hurt, Hunter Renfro's right there and ready to jump on board. I don't know. We will talk about the 53-man roster of the Carolina Panthers, what it shaped up to look like after NFL Cut Day, as well as take a look at the other teams in the division that will be their opponents for a playoff spot in a divisional crown. A lot of college football in the next hour, water cooler cheat sheet, Denton Day at 9:20 to set up the college football weekend. All of that comes after this. Lonzo's national championship caliber sports flash.
I am wearing the shirt for it. A ninth inning offensive explosion powered the Atlanta Braves to an 11-2 win over Miami. Hurston Waldrop had another solid outing, allowing 8 hits, but only 1 run across 5.1 innings. Atlanta notched a dozen hits. That's pretty good, including 4 in the top of the ninth. Atlanta finishes the series this afternoon at 1:10. The New Orleans Saints announced that former Gamecock signal caller Spencer Rattler will be their starter when the season opens next weekend. Rattler beat out rookie Tyler Shuck for the spot and will start his 7th career game after going 0-6 with largely backups last year. We'll see what he does with starters. Falcons starting right tackle Caleb McGarry will miss the season after suffering a leg injury in practice last week. The run blocking expert would have been the blindside protector for second-year quarterback Michael Penix Jr. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show is next, right here on the Fan Upstate.
Can you dig it?
Sucker! The Rob Brown Show back on the radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Brown, that's me. The great one, Lonzo, that's he. And we are glad to be with you every weekday morning from 6 until 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, except for next Monday when we are off for Labor Day. And also, let's keep it a hundy, shall we? To recover from week 1 of college football. Because starting tomorrow at 5:30 p.m., when the USF Bulls and the Boise State Blue Turf Smurf Broncos get it on down in Tampa, Florida, all the way through Monday afternoon when Bill Belichick and his UNC Tar Heels make their debut under the hoodie, your boy is going to wear a Rob Brown butt-shaped dent in the couch. I will be headed today after the show is over to pick up all of my football weekend supplies because tomorrow when the show is over, I know how tomorrow's going to go. I'll be up late into the evening watching college football. Once the show is over tomorrow, it is get off the air, cut promos, do the desk jockey work, head back to the crib, get a college football weekend social media post up, take a short siesta, and then at 5:30 p.m. post up for a little college football. And I shan't move between there and Monday with the exception of, coming into work on Thursday and Friday. But outside of that,
Saturday, you got something major going on.
Do have the final episode of the current iteration of Bet for the Cycle on Saturday, but I do that show from home. And considering the fact that it is the final episode, considering we have already told the folks at the network, we're not planning anything for this show. We're just going to show up, turn the mics on, and see what happens for 4 hours. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to sit at the desk. I think I'm just going to swivel everything over and sit on the couch to do that show. Just get the mic stand, do it podcast style. And that way I can stare at the TV the whole time.
That's a good move. Are you going to have like some special guests show up from early that
we
used to be on the show?
Absolutely are. We are going to have a parade.
I don't want to spoil surprises. I'm just guessing that's usually what you do when it's your final show.
That is exactly what is going to happen. A parade of the heaviest of heavy hitters. Bob Nightingale from USA Today is going to come by. I believe Pete Futak is going to come by, who's been our college football dude for 4 years now. Hayton-ass Mario is supposed to swing by, but he texted us yesterday and said, hey, fellas, I don't know if it's going to be a good idea for me to come on the show Saturday or not. And I said, why? Because Mario's got a new role. He's actually producing for the ESPN affiliate in Chicago now. And he said, I don't know if it's a good idea for me to come on. And I said, because you're working at it for another company now? Like, we don't care. It's our last show. What are they going to do? Fire us. You're fine. And he said, no, I'm actually going to be down in Miami for a bachelor party. And the festivities begin at like 10 a.m. on Saturday. So I don't know what state of mind I'll be in. And I said, that makes me want you to come on more.
I was gonna say, what does that matter?
Yeah.
They're not, it's your last show. So,
yeah. Hey, everybody, Mario's here, and he's absolutely sloshed in Coral Gables. That makes me want to pay attention more. All right, final episode of Bet for the Cycle this Saturday from noon to 4 on the BetMGM Network for free on the Odyssey app. Cody Decker and I are we got other stuff cooking. I'm not done broadcasting with the big deck energy just yet. So we got some other stuff cooking, but we wanted our Saturdays back. It's been 4 years. So check it out, noon to 4. Hey, real quick. I did have one more thought that I wanted to give because this kind of hit me during the break. Texter wrote the show and said, Rob Brown, if Hunter Renfrow isn't one of the best 7 on the team, the Panthers should not drop a ball this season. I thought about that quite a bit. And I looked at the wide receiver core, 7 wide receivers. Tenero McMillan, we knew that. Adam Thielen, we knew that. Xavier Legette, we knew that. Jalen Coker, I think we knew that. The 3 others who made it were David Moore, Jimmy Horn Jr., and Bryson Tremaine. Now, I think another part of the reason, and I'm not going to stay on this for much longer, but this thought did hit me during the break because I read that text to the Hub City Spartanburger text line at 844-326-3663. I read that text and I thought, was Hunter Renfrow one of the best 7 based on the guys who made the roster?
He wasn't one of the best 7 for the Raiders. If I remember, there was a shot of him getting cut there. So, and I could be recalling wrong. And his illness may have come into play his final season with the Raiders, but I don't think he played that well his final season.
I think he was okay. I also think the Raiders were just a bad football team at that point.
Well, at that point,
wasn't his last year there?
When's the last time the Raiders were a good team?
I'm trying to remember if his last year there the first year that Aiden O'Connell was the guy. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know who would have been successful, but put that aside.
It might have been your Hall of Famer. I don't know.
It may have been Derek Carr. I don't remember. Put that aside. I went and looked at the 7 wide receivers who did make the roster. Again, we knew the ones that were going to. McMillan, Thielen, Leggett, Coker. Those 4 were locks. The question was, what combination was going to round out the final 3? And it ended up being David Moore, Jimmy Horn Jr., and Bryson Tremaine. And here's why I think it may just be a matter of there's not an underground conspiracy theory. This isn't, a wink, wink, nudge, nudge agreement with Hunter Renfrow. Don't sign anywhere else. We'll bring you back. It comes down to this. Jimmy Horn Jr. made this team because he's going to be the kickoff return guy, I think. That's why they got rid of Raheem Blackshear yesterday, because Jimmy Horn Jr., in a young guy that Carolina is very optimistic about, doesn't just add a 5th wide receiver if you have to go 5 wide late in games. He also is your kick return specialist, and the dude's got some speed.
All right, really quick, just because I was curious. In 2022, he only had 36 receptions, 330 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, and appeared sparingly in 2023 before being released by the Raiders. So I think the praise for Renfrow is a little bit high. He was a decent receiver, especially early on in his career, but he's played for a while and he was on the decline. And so I think people are just forgetting that he got cut.
I think that is a part of it without a doubt, and I think that plays into it. I think, if I recall correctly, Hunter Renfrow did say at a point that his health issues were causing some struggles for him on the football field. That's part of the reason that he walked away from football instead of, after getting cut, trying to make a new team. He just was like, I'm out for a minute. Let me get my bleep together.
Getting cut will help you walk away, but
he could have tried out to come back somewhere else, and he just walked away from football. Now, David Moore, Jimmy Horn, because he's a kickoff return specialist, they got upside hopes for him, but he's a kickoff return guy. That leads David Moore and Bryson Tremaine. David Moore is a guy that I think is viewed as kind of an over the middle threat. He's 6'2", 220, so he's not a small guy. He's a guy you can kind of send across the middle and believe that there is a chance that he can be your hands guy if you send Leggett down the sideline. And that leaves Bryson Tremaine as wide receiver number 7 on the roster. Well, Bryson Tremaine's 25 years old, but he's 6'4", 212, and Canales has specifically referenced him as a guy that he believes has a lot of upside and a lot of potential, but is a very rough project. Like, they are going to have to develop the guy. At the end of the day, with Hunter Renfrow, you kind of knew what you were going to get. There's no growing Hunter Renfrow's game. He is who he is, and who he is a pretty good wide receiver. But as much as I believe that this team is now ready to compete for the NFC South, maybe not any other division, but they are ready to compete for a bad division in the NFC South. If that is the case, then I would have liked to see Renfrow stick on the squad because I think he can participate and contribute more. But here's the thing. Had Hunter Renfrow made the squad, he would have been the 7th wide receiver. Even in a 5 wide, how many routes is Hunter Renfrow going to get? Right? Like, how many plays a game is Hunter Renfrow going to get? 4, 5, 6, 10 absolute tops? How many targets a game? 1, 2, maybe. If that is the case, then I'll keep Bryson Tremaine, who's going to get that role, and I will utilize my opportunity with him in practices to try to develop him down the line that can move up on the depth chart if and when we need him to, or become attractive trade bait later. We'll talk more about this later on. We got to get to our NFL cut day results from yesterday. That is actually an item on this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
You're 47! What are you gonna do?
take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go.
Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office this morning and start talking sports with your coworkers. When you do this is what you're going to be talking about. Let us dive right in with item number 1. Talked about it at length for the Carolina Panthers. Let's take a look at some of the other moves that took place around the NFL as the 53-man roster cut day was yesterday. Deadline at 4 p.m. Teams had to be under that 53-man mark at that point. Some of the bigger moves that got made yesterday. The Dallas Cowboys still uncertain about the future of one Micah Parsons. James Houston was chosen to carry on the roster, was likely a cut victim, but they kept him on because Micah Parsons is not technically on the roster right now. Phil Maffa, as we mentioned yesterday, did go on injured reserve, but he is available to return to the Cowboys later on in the season, and it is believed that he will. Lyle Collins, who is has been a name there in a long time, got the cut from Dallas. John Mingo and Peyton Turner both as well. For the Giants' biggest move, likely Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets, gets the axe in favor of Wilson Winston and Dart in Philly. Added tackle Fred Johnson and Sam Howell via trade. Tanner McKee named the backup quarterback. Kyle McCord catches the axe for the Commanders. Brian Robinson Jr. was traded last week, so they had some questions about what the running back spot was going to look like. No big moves from yesterday. The Bears didn't really have a lot going on yesterday. The Lions did not either under Dan Campbell's squad, other than they released Dan Skipper. You remember Dan Skipper is the offensive tackle that had the touchdown pass, and there was the controversy about being tackle eligible. Fan favorite. They cut him because they are not playing around anymore. The Minnesota Vikings have J.J. McCarthy officially as the starter. They traded away Sam Howell, replaced him with free agent Carson Wentz at the quarterback spot. For the Falcons, Caleb McGarry, placed on injured reserve. The starting right tackle, expected to protect Michael Penix Jr.'s blind side. Sustained a leg injury last week. It was announced yesterday he would not make the rest of the season. So now Atlanta having to go to blindside tackle number 2. Hunter Renfrow was cut by the Panthers yesterday. We talked about that. The other big move, 4 tight ends, Jatavion Sanders, Tommy Tremble, Mitch Evans, and James Mitchell all make the roster. The reason why it is believed that Tommy Tremble will not be 100% until a little bit later on in the season. So they kept the 4th tight end. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Cam Akers, both cut by the Saints. Kendre Miller is going to be Alvin Kamara's backup. Spencer Rattler named QB1. Kyle Trask cut by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Teddy Bridgewater brought in as QB2 in that spot. We'll take a look at some of the other names from yesterday's cut day deadline here in a minute, but we got to get on to item number 2. The Atlanta Braves yesterday racked up a dozen hits in an 11-2 win over the Miami Marlins. They had a big top of the 9th inning explosion. Bergeron doubled to left to score White and Alvarez Jr. Baldwin singled to right to score Alvarez Jr. and Bergeron. Acuna Jr. walked to score Baldwin. Eli White singled to left. The Greenville native singled to left, scored a couple. Ozzie Albies then went to wrap up the 9th out to left field, scored himself, Ronald Acuna Jr. and Eli White. The Braves entered the top of the 9th with a 3-2 lead. They left the top of the 9th with an 11-2 win. Offensive explosion late. That is the kind of stuff, even if it does ultimately end up costing you a first overall pick, there doesn't appear yet to be a Paul Skeens in the next draft. So, show me you got some momentum for next year. Well, the story is Hurston Waldrop. the former Florida Gator turned rookie who got brought up to eat innings. Turns out, dude can maybe go a little bit. Now, he did not get any Ks in the game yesterday, Hurston Waldrop. What he did do, however, was work 5.1 innings, give up 8 hits, but only 1 run. No Ks in the game. Still, I'm looking for consistency, and he gave that to us yesterday. Hurston Waldrop, through 7 appearances, has K'd 24 batters, and has an ERA of 0.9 with a 4-0 record. He did not get the decision yesterday. Had he would have ended up with a 5-0 record, a whip of 0.93. Hurston Waldrop looks like a dude, and this is the one thing that I think that the Bravos can have optimism about. It looks like they may have gotten another dude off the bump out of the draft, which they might need. Spencer Strider had a better outing last time out, but he has also not been good since his return from his injury, sustained after his return from an injury. I think Spence is out there at this point just working innings, trying to see if he can get the heat back and get the control back. We'll find out. We'll talk more about it. But at least some minor level of optimism for Atlanta that Hurston Waldrop might be a dude. Let's go to item number 3. Just kind of a quick run through of a number of college football stories as we get prepared for week 1 of college football. Denton Day of the BetMGM Network, big college football dude, going to join us coming up this morning at 9:20. We will basically run up and down the slate and get his thoughts on everything. Here are some of the notes yesterday. Ryan Day joined the Pat McAfee show yesterday, the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Kirk Herbstreit was filling in for Pat as the guest host. He asked Ryan Day, what's your advice for Julian Sayin going into week 1 as QB1 for the reigning defending? Ryan Day said his advice to Julian Sayin, quote, just win, end quote. Pressure on that team. We're going to talk about with that game between the Buckeyes and the Longhorn means this weekend and if it can live up to expectations. Coming up in this hour, we're also
trying to say that's bad advice? Is that what you're trying to say?
No.
That sounds like great advice to me.
I mean, it is quite literally for anyone playing a sport, the best advice. Just win.
It's something you and I look at each other before we walk in this room every morning and go, just win.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah. I need to print a poster out for that. No, I think it is obviously Ryan Day is not going to be like, well, I told him to work on a 7-step drop and timing and like, sure, platitude, but like there's confidence.
Or is it just win? Or that guy sitting over there is taking your spot?
Yeah, I don't think that. But
okay.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll see. Colorado is named transfer quarterback Kaidon Salter, their QB1. Oklahoma State will start Hejny as their QB1. The Tennessee Volunteers added a year to Josh Heupel's deal. He is now the head man on good old Rocky Top through 2030. I told you they got hype in Heupel out there in Knoxville.
He and Matt Rule should be on the same bowling team.
Speaking of Matt Rule, I got another college football hot take for you coming up here in just a little while, and it involves the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Bama and West Virginia had a home and home scheduling agreement. They have canceled it, and they have canceled it as a direct result of the change in SEC scheduling policy. We're going to talk about that coming up a little later on. And when Colorado hosts Georgia Tech coming up tomorrow evening, they will do so without one of the best traditions in college football. Ralphie the Sixth has retired, and they do not have time to get Ralphie 7 ready to roll. So the Buffaloes will take to the field Friday against the Rambling Wreck without a Buffalo. Tech by 90. All right, we got a lot of college football we're going to get to when we come back here in just a minute from right now. Let's talk Clemson LSU, and let's talk about what this game means in the grand scheme of things for both of these schools, these head coaches, these quarterbacks, and more. That's next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
That world.
All right, guys, one more live, and we're coming back. Stay right there, please, and thank you.
this out.
Clemson v. LSU is being wildly viewed as the game of week one. There are two of them that stand out more than all the rest. One of them, obviously, the Texas Longhorns versus the Ohio State Buckeyes. The other, LSU and Clemson. So what is on the line in this game? What does this game mean to both the Tigers and the Tigers? Heather Dinich was on ESPN. She was asked that question.
Well, it's interesting because it's important for both teams in very different ways. If Clemson wins this, it has a chance to go 2-0 against the SEC. Remember, they play rival South Carolina in the regular season finale. And if they go 2-0 against the SEC and win the ACC, not only are they a lock, but I mean, they should be one of the top 4 teams in the country. And if they don't win the ACC and they're fighting for an at-large bid and 2-0 against the SEC, that's a non-conference resume that's going to be extremely difficult to top for other contenders in fighting for at-large bids. And then when you look at LSU, if they win that game, it's certainly huge. They have a chance to say, hey, we beat the eventual ACC champs. But if they lose that game, LSU's schedule is number 11th in the country. And if you're playing from behind in week one, that's going to be really, really tough not to finish as a 2 or even a 3-loss team. And while we will certainly have 3-loss teams under consideration by the selection committee, obviously the more you lose, the more dangerous it gets. Just ask Alabama, which got bumped out last year at number 11 as a 3-loss team.
Yeah, not just 7 top 25 opponents for LSU, but trips to Oxford, Tuscaloosa, and Norman on that schedule. All gets going facing Clemson Saturday, 7:30 Eastern on ABC.
So there you go. There's Heather Denich's take. And I will start with, she hit, I think, what is the big one? The big one being, this is about standing at the end of the season. If you are Clemson, if everybody who's not me is correct and the ACC stinks, beating LSU and being the first team to do it and doing it when LSU is a top 10 team, because again, if LSU loses to Clemson on the road, even though it will be a quality loss in the enhanced metrics, even though it will be a quality loss on the road to a top 4 team, there will be a number of teams stacked up behind LSU that could, emphasize, bold, italicized, could end up jumping them. And that will be an interesting spot. Keep in mind, we will not get playoff standings until November 4th. So we will not know what it does to LSU in the playoff standings. What we do know is what it might do to them in the top 25. If Miami beats Notre Dame, they will jump them. And I don't know if Notre Dame would fall behind LSU. If Arizona State wins this weekend, coming off a playoff run last year, they could jump LSU. Illinois, hell, South Carolina with the win over Tech. If LSU loses to Clemson, could jump them. Michigan, Florida, SMU, all these teams could. Now, none of them will have a quality win that is going to reward them as much as, I don't really know what the correct way to English this is yet, but as much as the maybe most quality loss outside of the loser of Texas, Ohio State will have in week one. But I do know the AP poll treats the way that they rank teams differently than the College Football Playoff Selection Committee does. So it is a lot on the line in terms of postseason results for Clemson and LSU. Again, the narrative about Clemson, I was on BetMGM last night, and Ryan and Brad asked me my thoughts on this game. Both of them brought up within the interview the narrative of Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers going 0-3 against the Southeastern Conference last year. You do not have to like it, but those friends in low places, or I guess I should say when it comes to College Football Playoff Selection Committee, those friends in high places whether you like it or not, right now, the Southeastern Conference is the measuring stick by which everybody else is gauged. That's just how it is right now for everybody. So going 0-3 against that conference last year and that narrative hanging over your head coming into this year is one of the reasons that, while we have pointed out, and my take was this, I said this on, I think, Sean Levine's show last Saturday. He said, where do you have Clemson and why? And I said, honestly, I've got them inside the top 5. And my reason why is because this team, and this is a very sincere take, I think Clemson has fewer questions to answer than anybody else, right? Their quarterback is established. Can't say that about Texas. Can't say that about Ohio State. Can't say that about Georgia or Notre Dame or Oregon or Alabama or Miami. I think you can a little bit about Miami, but that's a different conversation. Their wide receiver room is established. The only question that has been hanging over the head of the Clemson Tigers is the run game with Adam Randall as RB1. And the folks I've talked to, including John Blau, who joins us every Monday at 8:40 to talk Clemson sports, they're all saying, kid, for what it's worth, looked good in the offseason. That's totally different running against an LSU SEC caliber defensive line in week 1. But he seems to have embraced getting it right. So we'll see how that plays out. But Clemson has fewer questions, and I would say probably has fewer questions than LSU does. But there is one more thing that I have brought up, and that is head coaching. I think that this is a game that I would like to say the head coaching of Dabo Swinney is head coaching that I have more trust in than the coaching of Brian Kelly. The coordinators that are in place for Clemson, I have more belief in than I do the ones at LSU. But this got said to me last night. I also did another podcast last night. And this is what I got told.
Just say no, man.
I don't want to. Listen, if people want to say, Rob Brown, you know ball, and we'd like to have you talk college football and get attention, that's the job. Let's go. All right. Plus, the wife was already asleep at like 8:30, so I didn't have anything better to do. So they said, Rob Brown, you keep leaning on the coaching thing. And it's a fair and valid point when you talk about Dabo Swinney, a guy who has a ton of experience, a guy who has a national championship pedigree, a guy who has been there and done that multiple times. And that's all well and good. And putting him up against Brian Kelly, a guy that I think it can be argued, especially considering he went 9-3 with Jaden Daniels as his quarterback who won the Heisman that year. They said, as much as you can lean on that, why was that not enough for Dabo last year not to go 0-3 versus the Southeastern Conference? And my response to that was because the team wasn't as good. That's the reason. On paper, this team is just better than last year's. So what it means to the two head coaches, in my opinion, is this. This is part of the season-long narrative about Dabo Swinney, that whether he likes it or not is irrelevant. It is the conversation. Whether you like it or not, Clemson fans, is irrelevant. It is the national conversation about your ball club. Does the Dabo Swinney methodology, philosophy about college football still work? Does it still work? Is the more old school, sporadically and with great caution usage of the transfer portal work? Does having NIL, but not necessarily being a huge advocate of NIL work? Does grabbing guys and sticking with those guys for 2 or 3 or 4 years instead of going into the portal and replacing them with available players who look better on paper still work? This is going to go a long way in answering that question, right? Like Dabo's year is going to answer that question, but this game goes a long way in that direction. On the flip side, and this is a point I've been making for a couple of weeks now, Brian Kelly may not be on the hot seat right now. Peter Burns, buddy of the show, Peter Burns, has said on the SEC Network a few times that anybody who thinks Brian Kelly is on the hot seat at LSU is wrong. If for no other reason, then his buyout is enormous. They would give him one more year. So I'll follow buddy of the show, Peter Burns, and I'll say this. Brian Kelly may not be on the hot seat, but he's doing that like weird hover thing that you have to do, like when you're in a public bathroom and you got to go, but like you don't want to sit on the seat. You grab the rails on both sides and you just kind of hover and then hang on for dear life. That's what Brian Kelly's doing over the hot seat right now. A loss in this game, I think, could very well establish Brian Kelly losing another season opener. Could very well have him lose his grip on the two stall handrails and fall down ass first onto the hot seat. And here's the other problem you have. 2 weeks later, the Mighty Gators of Florida come to town. There's a lot of people, myself included, who actually believe the Florida Gators are going to be a very good football team this year behind DJ Lagway. What happens to Brian Kelly if this team in a championship year, or at least expectations of one, was to start the season 1-2 with Alabama still lurking, with Georgia, with South Carolina all still lurking on the schedule? If he starts 1-2, then he really is on the hot seat. And my fear for LSU is Brian Kelly is kind of noted as being a b-hole. If that team spirals because they go 1-2 and Brian Kelly turns into a b-hole and that team rebels against him, that team might implode on itself. And it could be Clemson that lights the fuse. It's a big deal for them. That's why this game is absolutely the second most important game of the weekend. Now, another very important game takes place on Sunday in Atlanta, Georgia, when the South Carolina Gamecocks take on the Virginia Tech Hokies. What message do the Gamecocks need to send in that game? I'll give you my narrative, my thoughts on that next on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Skip right past that.
Morning, Mike. Morning, Nettie Mac. This is proof that I love the sentence. Maybe I'm just trolling. Incredible. Stay right there, guys. I will be right back. I heard a coach a couple of days ago, and I wish I could remember which one it was, but I heard a coach say the college football season is not a marathon and it is not a sprint. It is 12 individual sprints, which you are therefore looking to try to earn a 13th sprint if you're in a conference championship game, and then earn a 15th, 16th, 17th sprint to try to win a national championship. They said the college football season is not a marathon, nor is it a sprint. It is 12 individual sprints. And I like that. I like that a lot. The reason I say that, and I bring that little quip up here on the show, is because where the South Carolina Gamecocks are as we move towards their opener coming up Sunday afternoon in Atlanta, Georgia against the Virginia Tech Hokies. I do not think of any of the teams in the country inside of, let's say, the top, I'll say 17, maybe, let's say 19, let's say 20. Let's say that everybody in the top 20, from 20 down, Indiana, A&M, Oklahoma, Kansas State, SMU, Michigan, South Carolina, Illinois, Arizona State, Miami, LSU, Alabama, Oregon, Notre Dame, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, Penn State, Texas. I think it's fair to say every one of those teams, and you could even, if you wanted to, extend it down to Ole Miss, Texas Tech. By the way, the rumor going around right now is that Texas Tech has spent more NIL money this year than Ohio State spent last year, because they got like a $300 million gift that they put almost exclusively towards name, image, and likeness efforts. So I would say, realistically, maybe let's say the entire top 25, because Boise State checks in at top 20 in the top 25 as last year's group of 5 representative, and a team that is very optimistic that they will be back in this year as the G5 champ. If everybody in the top 25 has an opportunity to be a college football playoff team, there's not much in the way of margin for error this year. I have said a couple of times, and the more that I say it, the more I'm really not sure if I believe me. I've said I would not be shocked this year if a 3-loss team gets into the playoffs. Now, if it does, I'm going to go ahead and let you know. It will be a Southeastern Conference team if it happens. But the more I look at it, the more I'm not entirely sure that's going to be the case. I do think there is the potential that a 9-3 Southeastern Conference team this year, if this conference is as good as I think it is top to bottom, that a 9-3 Southeastern Conference team may get the brownie points necessary to jump a 10-2 team from another conference. Well, why is that 9-3 number important? Because that 9-3 number, to me, that's the target record for the South Carolina Gamecocks this year. And if you hit your target record of 9-3, and you do so with a Heisman Trophy candidate that, if he lives up to expectations, becomes nationally must-see TV. Remember how Jaden Daniels did at LSU. That team was 9-3, and Jaden Daniels was must-see TV for the country. If Lenore Sellers gets into that stratosphere, as many of us believe that he can and potentially will, and this team goes 9-3, and they do so against one of, I argue, overall 5 or 6 most difficult schedules in college football, and to me, the most difficult final 7-game stretch of anybody in college football. 9-3 could theoretically make you the first 9-win team to get into the college football playoffs. That's South Carolina's ticket. But, as I've mentioned a few times, because that 7-game stretch is as difficult as it is, with Oklahoma on it, with LSU on it, with Alabama on it, with Ole Miss on it, with Clemson on it, with Texas A&M on the road on it. With all of those teams, which are all teams that have playoff, many of them aspirations, some of them straight up expectations, 9-3, I think, makes South Carolina the most likely 9-3 team to go in as the 12th seed and give themselves a chance. Here's the thing. College football is not a marathon, nor is it a sprint. College football is 12 individual sprints. And much like when you are Olympic qualifying, this is a qualifier. This is a heat. This is, hey, the top 3 runners from this heat will move on to the qualifying round. This is not a game that will get you into the final race. This is a game that will make sure that you are eligible for the race that will get you into the final race. My belief is that if the Gamecocks of South Carolina would like to accomplish a 9-3 record, which I do think respectfully is the roof, it's a brutal schedule. If you would like to have a 9-3 record and at least give yourself the opportunity to argue that a 9-win team should be in the playoffs, whether you have to argue that you deserve it more than another 9-win team, or, and I think this is very much in the cards, you are going to be arguing that 9-3 against this schedule should be treated with the same respect as 10-2 out of the Big 12 or 10-2 out of the ACC. Hell, maybe 10-2 out of the Big 10, because the Oregon Ducks have effectively, I would say Oregon might have gotten a blessing from the football gods with their schedule this year. They've got Oklahoma State. Don't have a lot of faith in them. They've got the Civil War, but that's at home against Oregon State. Their one big tough matchup is at Penn State. Let's say they lose that. They're probably no worse than 10-2. They've got Indiana. I love me some Kurt Signetti, but I'm not quite sold that Indiana is going to be back where Indiana was last year. You got USC at the end of the year, which Lincoln Riley is on the hot seat, even if Brian Kelly's not. Lincoln Riley is. That team's going to be desperate. I think 10-2 is the worst outcome for the Oregon Ducks. And they are out of the Big Ten, good conference, but scheduling-wise, Oregon caught a break this year. No Michigan, no Ohio State. And if that is the case, I think it could very well be argued by South Carolina, assuming that everybody on the schedule upholds their end of the deal. I think it could be argued that 9-3 with South Carolina's schedule is more impressive than 10-2 with Oregon's schedule. That's the argument I'm saying you're setting up. So, with that being said, and let me be clear, because a texter just said, your take is a 3-loss team making it. Clemson did it last year. Let me be more specific, as an at-large, because South Carolina's not winning the Southeastern Conference. Okay? Like to me, that's a statement of fact. It's just too good of a conference. And while I am all in on Lenora Sellers, I don't think the rest of the team is that good. So I apologize. You are correct. What I meant was, and I should have been more clear about this, an at-large 3-loss team finding their way in. And obviously that might be influenced by if Clemson goes to the ACC title game at 12-0 and they lose to 9-3 SMU. They lose to 9-3 Miami. Then obviously Clemson is going to eat up at 12-1, one of those at-large spots. But if you end up in a spot where they go 13-0, the SEC winner ends up going 12-1, 11-2, because I don't know if there's an undefeated team in the SEC this year unless Arch Manning is him. I am talking about a 3-loss team competing for an at-large spot, which is, I think, the best that South Carolina can hope for. In order to make that happen, I have already gone on the record and said this team has to start 5-0. That is non-negotiable to me. If you drop Virginia Tech, SC State, Vanderbilt, Mizzou, or Kentucky, If you drop any one of those 5, I think you can go ahead and wave hasta luego to an at-large playoff spot, unless South Carolina was then to go 6-1, maybe 5-2 through the last 7. But keep in mind, I've said my roof for this team this year is 9-3, and that roof of 9-3 is with the assumption that they start 5-0. The assumption that the 5 games they will open up as favorites, VTech, SC State, Vandy, Mizzou, and Kentucky, are all wins. If you take a loss in any one of these games early in the season, you can drop that 9-3 to 8-4. If you take 2 losses in those opening 5 games, you can drop that 8-4 to 7-5. And I think that would be a disappointment this year. I think 8-4 is a year that you look and you go, it ain't what we wanted. It also, against that schedule, ain't the worst thing in the world, but we're not happy about it. I think 9-3, you go, good season. I think anything better than 9-3, you go, hell yeah, what a year, right? So I think I require a 5-0. And even though you do have in week 2 a home contest at night with SC State coming to town, which should be a glorified, all due respect to SC State, a glorified tune-up, because you've got Diego Pavia, Clark Lee, and the Vanderbilt Commodores coming to town. And Vandy is, and I'm confident saying this, these ain't your daddy's doors. This team's good. I'm not saying they're Bama good. I'm not saying they're LSU good. I'm saying Diego Pavia is a dude who is now in his mid-20s, has experience. They are confident because they have been riding, even with a couple of losses after it. Vanderbilt is very much riding the high off of the upset against Alabama last year. Vanderbilt is very much riding the high against the, the road win against Auburn last year. Like, they are riding that. They feel themselves. And I have already told you, there are 2 coaches in college football that are never mentioned in the best active coaches conversation that I think should be. There's really 3. Brent Key at Georgia Tech, Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State, and Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. I believe in Clark Lee. I believe that down the line, a major power conference team is going to end up with an opening, and Clark Lee is going to be call number 1. Honestly, if LSU fires Brian Kelly, I think Clark Lee is the phone call. You ready to step up in the conference, bud? And I think he would say yes. So with college football not being a marathon, nor is it a sprint, it is 12 individual sprints. You got to make sure you're in the qualifying race. The qualifying race is the final 7 games of the year, which means you've got to win these heats. You cannot just come out, to me, you cannot just come out and beat Virginia Tech, win the game. You need to come out and put everything on display. You need to prove to the committee, who is watching this weekend, even if they don't issue a ranking, we are absolutely, even if we finish 9-3, one of the best teams in the country, just up against a brutal schedule. And to show that to them, you need to decimate Virginia Tech. Don't just cover. You need to decimate Vatek. All right, we'll talk more college football coming up in the next hour. Get a little baseball in here and more. All of that after Lonzo. If they hand out trophies, I assume is going to collect another one with this Sports Flash.
That's why I've got a mantle. Ninth inning offensive explosion powered the Atlanta Braves to an 11-2 win over Miami. Hurston Waldrop had another solid outing, allowing 8 hits, but only 1 run across 5.1 innings. Atlanta notched a dozen hits, including 4 in the top of the 9th. Atlanta finishes the series this afternoon at 1:10. The NFL roster cut day finished with a flurry of moves from the Carolina Panthers. The biggest shock was the release of former Clemson Tiger Hunter Renfrow. The Panthers did keep 7 wide receivers as well as 4 tight ends. Other notable cuts were backup Jack Plummer, kicker Matthew Wright, defensive tackle Shai Tuttle, and running back Raheem Blackshear. The New Orleans Saints announced that former Gamecock signal caller Spencer Rattler will be their starter when the season opens next weekend. Rattler beat out rookie Tyler Shuck for the spot and will start his 7th career game after going 0-6 with largely backups last year.
It was Ryan Day. I thought it was Ryan Day. I think he said that yesterday to McAfee. I think that's where it came from. Good call, Jacob. Thank you very much. Spike texted the show on the Hub City Spartanburger text line and said, this year's Vanderbilt team are the Brick House Commodores, not the Sweet Love Commodores. Spike, I appreciate that text more than I can tell you. Without a doubt, man. He also said the Gamecocks would need to leave a favorable impression in the final regular season game, which means they have to play very well against Clemson. I agree with that, too.
Very well, yeah. Last year was a victory.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
some people have forgotten that.
Unfortunately for South Carolina, it is not 2024. This is 2025. And unfortunately for South Carolina, your worthiness of getting into the playoff is not impacted one way or the other by 2024. I think there actually is an exception to that. I think if there is like a brand who made a run last year in the playoffs, that is one of those teams that's fighting for spot 11 or spot number 12, the recency bias of that team was in it last year, and that team, it could potentially make another run this year. Like maybe that's enough for a team to overcome not being in the mix based on what happened in 2024. But I think that is probably the only possible way. So I do agree with Spike that game, especially if that game either gets South Carolina to 9-3, or if they enter that game at 9-2 and they have an opportunity to be 10-2, if they lose that game, and a lot of this also obviously goes into what Clemson is. If Clemson is a shockingly disappointing team and they enter that game at 8-3, then the weight is even more on South Carolina if they are at the time advocating for a playoff spot. But I do think it has to be a showing either way, whether Clemson is good or is disappointing. That's got to be a showing for the Gamecocks. But I would also say, I think it's got to be a showing for Clemson as well, right? Like, I think it's got to be a showing for Clemson as well. I think that there's going to be as much pressure on that team as there is South Carolina. Now, obviously, what that pressure is and what that pressure looks like is dramatically different. If Clemson comes into that game and they are 11-0 and they've already punched their ticket to an ACC title game, probably not a ton of pressure. Because even with a loss in the ACC title game, if they are 11-1 in the regular season and drop the ACC title game, it is still very likely, I think, this year, maybe more than other years, I think it is very likely that that would be enough to get them in as an at-large if they were to drop the title game. So, we'll see. We'll see. What I think is, and we talked in the last hour, if you missed it, after the show is over, you can go to thefanupstate.com, go to the podcast section, drop down the podcast button, find the Rob Brown Show, and you can go back and listen to individual hours listed by what we spoke about in that hour, or download the whole show and listen to it on demand at your leisure whenever you want to get to it. We talked about in the last hour what the meaning is, what the storyline narrative meaning of the opening week game for both Clemson and South Carolina is. I landed here. For Clemson, it is step one in Dabo Swinney's effort to prove that this team is still capable of being a championship caliber team with the Dabo philosophy in play. It is the first opportunity for Dabo Swinney to metaphorically flip the bird at everybody that has said the Dabo way won't work anymore. A win at home over LSU. And again, a lot of this has to do with the fact that LSU has playoff expectations this year. Whether or not missing them would get Brian Kelly expelled from Red Stick, Louisiana, whether or not that would be enough to end his tenure at LSU, or if it just makes it where next year becomes make the playoffs or you're gone, fella. Brian Kelly's lost his opening day games. I don't believe he has won one in the last 3 years. And so the pressure is on him. And as I've talked about, losing, much like winning, can impact your mentality, right? If you're winning and you're high on the hog, losing can do the opposite. If you are not mentally tough, losing can snowball on you. And if that team goes on the road, even to Clemson, South Carolina, and they drop a week 1 game, DJ Lagway and the Gators are coming to your house 2 weeks later. And if you're in a negative spot, if you are in a negative headspace as LSU, even with a win over whatever FCS team it is they play in week 2, even if you're in a good spot after that win, I don't look at Brian Kelly's teams as particularly headstrong. There was a clip last year from the opening weekend loss for LSU, and I remember it very well because I had quite the hearty chuckle at it. There was a video that ran around of Brian Kelly after the week 1 loss of LSU last year, where they dropped that game 27-20 to Southern Cal, where Brian Kelly sat behind the table and started his post-game press conference. And a reporter asked him, like, you know, what's your narrative of the game or whatever. I don't remember exactly what the question was. But Brian Kelly, like, lost his mind. He's like slamming the desk. And he's like, you know, we're up here talking about the same stuff. And it's this, that, and the other. We have expectations and we want this and we want that. And we did it to ourselves again. And it's like, bro, you're 0-1 and you lost to a top 25 team. Now, granted, Southern California would not go on to be the team that Lincoln Riley wanted them to be last year. But, like, it wasn't the worst loss in the world. The question mark was, can you rebound? And LSU would go on to win 6 in a row, including that road win over South Carolina. Including an overtime win against Ole Miss, 29-26, a road rivalry win over Arkansas. The problem was, at that point, LSU turned around and lost the next 3 in a row. At Texas A&M, back home for Alabama, at Florida. Those same mighty Gators of Florida that I've already said LSU's got to be concerned with in week number 3 behind DJ Lagway. They got him last year, 27-16. It dropped LSU to 6-4. They would finish 8-4 after wins over Vandy and Oklahoma down the stretch. So this game matters a hell of a lot to LSU as well. And that, to me, means there is one more thing that Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers can prove in this game. It is not that we can beat good teams. It is that we can beat teams that have everything on the line. We can beat teams that this is a season making or breaking game for them. Because I'm not going to say that a loss to Clemson would ruin LSU's season. I wouldn't say that a loss to anybody in week 1 would ruin anybody's season. It may make it more difficult, but it would not ruin LSU's season. But we have talked about what LSU has out front of them after that game. La Tech, then it's back home for Florida. SC LSU, then they are at Ole Miss, top 25 team. Back home for South Carolina, top 13 team. On the road at Vanderbilt, unranked, but Vandy got Bama last year in that house. Back home for A&M. Mike Elko's got some people believing down there in College Station. Then on the road against Alabama, rivalry game against Arkansas, home for Western Kentucky. And then they wrap up their season the week after that, and I'm just blanking on who the last game of the year is for LSU. Oh, Oklahoma. That's right. They wrap it up against Oklahoma. That's not easy. That's a tough schedule. And it's a road game, by the way. It's out there in Oklahoma. It's in Norman. So, with that being said, it is not a game that breaks LSU's season, but Brian Kelly's margin for error, either to keep himself off of the hot seat, get to the playoffs this year, and while the expectations may still be playoffs next year, there's at least some wiggle room, or go on the hot seat where there is zero wiggle room next year and the schedule will be likely just as if not more difficult, or just outright keep your job. Brian Kelly and his Tigers are desperate. What that means for Clemson in round number 1 isn't just that you are able to prove that you can win against a good team. You can prove that you can win a game against a good team that has everything on the line. Brian Kelly has got it all on the line. Garrett Nussmeier, if he is in any way, shape, or form interested in winning the Heisman Trophy, getting outdueled by Cade Klubnik in week number 1 is a really good way to get your name pulled from the hat before you even get it in the hat. You can't go get outdueled by Cade Klubnik even if it is on the road. A lot of pressure on that kid. Garrett Nussmeier is going to the draft next year. Losses like this one, because again, I pointed out those 3 losses for LSU last year. If you go look at those 3 losses to Texas A&M, Alabama, and Florida, you will notice something. Garrett Nussmeier was not great in those games. Garrett Nussmeier was not great in those games. So with that being said, he has got a lot of proof that he's got to put on the table. I go back and I look. In fact, let's look at him just for the funsies real quick. And there's another reason I bring this up, which I'll get to in a second. Against Texas A&M, 25 of 50 for 50%, did have 405 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he also got picked off 3 times in that game. I go to the Alabama game. Garrett Nussmeier, 27 of 42, so just over 57%, 239, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Then I go to the Florida game. They lose 27-16. Garrett Nussmeier, 27 of 47, just below or just above 50% for 260, just 1 touchdown, but a QBR of 66, below average. And in those games, LSU scored 23, 13, and 16. Their scores in the wins, 44, 36, 34, 42, 29, 34, 24, 37, 44 in the bowl game against Baylor. Garrett Nussmeier did not show up for a pivotal 3-game stretch in the middle of the season last year for LSU. And while wins and losses are not a quarterback stat, that does not mean that you cannot gauge whether a quarterback over, under, or just average performed. And he did not. So the point of all of this is a game that is a season-long conversation starter for both of these teams. For LSU, it is Brian Kelly's opportunity to prove, hey, I got it wrong in the Jaden Daniels year, but I got it right. And we can go on the road and beat a top 4 team and prove that to you. For Dabo Swinney, it is not just the beginning of the conversation that, again, doesn't matter if you like it or not, Clemson fans. The national conversation about you is this is a referendum year for Dabo Swinney. This is a year for Dabo to prove that the way that he coaches college football is not just still feasible, but it can be at the top of the game. But the other aspect of this is it is Clemson's opportunity to prove, not only by beating an SEC team, but by beating a top 10 SEC team, that they are absolutely capable of not just beating good teams, but beating teams that get the bugaboo off the back. Now, I brought up Garrett Nussmeier a second ago. Here's why. I was on BetMGM Network tonight, and we'll get away from this game a little bit when we come back. South Carolina fans, I'm looking for your take. What is your message that South Carolina should send against Virginia Tech? Here's why I brought up Garrett Nussmeier. Because if you go look at those 3 losses from last season that we just talked about, if you go look at the 3 losses that LSU took last year in the middle of the season, what you will find, I think, is that the 3 teams that were able to get LSU, and a large part of the reason they were able to get LSU is because they were able to get Garrett Nussmeier off platform. That's my favorite football phrase this year, off platform. They were able to get Garrett Nussmeier off platform. Why is that? Because all 3 of those teams had an exceptional defensive line. Texas A&M under Mike Elko has gone out of its way to build from the line of scrimmage out. This is one of the reasons that I'm very high on Mike Elko. If you look at the teams that have been historically successful and have been consistently successful, I think you will see that they are always strong across the offensive and defensive line. It is very rare that you see a team make a playoff run that does not have exceptional offensive line play. And ordinarily when they do, it's because they got a Heisman caliber quarterback. It is almost not a thing that you see a team make a good run that does not have a great defensive line. Look at Georgia. Georgia has just been sending front 7 picks to the Philadelphia Eagles for like 4 years running now. And that's going to continue, which is why I think I've got Georgia winning the Southeastern Conference. One of the reasons I have Alabama in the playoffs, they've got 3 guys across their offensive line that will be NFL draft picks inside the first 2 or 3 rounds. 3 of them. The other 2 are working their way in that direction. So, what does Clemson have? What have I been saying all off season? If Clemson wins the Natty or comes close to it, yeah, Cade Klubnik will have a year. Ain't no doubt about it. The reason it will happen is because they have the best front 7 defensively in college football this year. Put it on display against Garrett Nussmeier. You will win the game. He will throw you a couple of picks. Take advantage. You will win the game. All right, when we come back here in just a minute, let's take a look at NFL Cut Day yesterday. Some of the bigger news, notes, and moves that got made. We'll do that coming up next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Five straight. That's right.
What time is Denton Day?
9:20.
9:20.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it's 8:20. 7.
Tonight, increase in clouds, a low near 61. Thursday, partial sunshine, 81. Friday, sunny, 83. Chance for storms for the weekend. I'm meteorologist.
All right, guys, stay right there. I'll return in a mere moment. psychological theory. Let's talk a little National Football League. The cut day was yesterday for teams to get down to their 53-man opening day roster. We have at length discussed Hunter Renfrow getting cut from the Carolina Panthers yesterday. He does not make the 53-man roster, and why that happened is up for debate. I have kicked back and forth two possibilities. Number one is the Carolina Panthers are genuinely interested in trading Adam Thielen over to the Vikings. Yesterday, I said on the show that I was absolutely okay with that, provided the Vikings gave you back compensation that you go, damn, all right. And the takeaway from that was the reason the Vikings and the Panthers have yet to come to an agreement on that compensation is that Carolina is going to be looking for a compensation package for Adam Thielen that is what you would get for a valuable number 2 wide receiver. I think they would be looking for a compensation package that is similar to what you would have had to send to Cincinnati to get T. Higgins when he was looking like he was going to leave that team this past offseason. I think it would have to be in that range. And I think the Vikings are going to go, yeah, we want the guy, hometown kid. We love him to be a part of what we believe is going to be a very good year this year. But even we have to acknowledge Adam Thielen's our slot receiver. He's our 3 receiver, right? Like he would play 2 for 4 weeks while Addison is suspended. After he comes back, he would be our number 3 slot receiver. We're not going to give a guy who might end the year with 400, 500, 600 yards receiving and maybe a few tutties. We're not going to give you a T. Higgins caliber package for him. But if they are indeed working towards it, and they do indeed believe that while it is a negotiation period, we will finally get to a deal, then maybe Hunter Renfrow, who reportedly, allegedly, was only willing to play if he came back from his illness for the Carolina Panthers. Maybe they just go, hey man, listen, don't sign anywhere. Don't sign anywhere. And the minute we have an opening on the roster at wide receiver or wherever we might need you, the minute we have an opening, you're getting the call to make your way back to Charlotte, right? Like that's a possibility. But then I've kind of talked myself out of that for 2 reasons. The first is what we talked about back in the first hour of the show. Adam Thielen has been beyond invaluable to Bryce Young, both in his first couple of growing pain years and then down the stretch last year when Bryce Young started showing you he's got a little bit of dog in him. Adam Thielen was the security blanket for Bryce Young. Adam Thielen was the guy that was always going to be there. And as much as I do not believe that Adam Thielen has a million more years left in him, here's the thought. What is more valuable, especially in a year where BY is trying to prove he was worth the trade of DJ Moore and the draft pick, in a year in which Dave Canales is trying to prove we are ready to make the jump to the next level and do so with Bryce Young as El Capitan? Do you really want to take away his security blanket right now? Right? Like give him a year of moving Adam Thielen to be the security blanket, but in the slot position, although Adam Thielen is right now on the unofficial week 1 depth chart listed as wide receiver 2. I think as soon as Xavier Legette proves, and fingers crossed that he does, as soon as Xavier Legette proves that the dropsies have been corrected and he can be that guy for BY, Adam Thielen goes to the 3. But even if he is the 3, he is still Bryce Young's security blanket. So my question is, what is the compensation package that you would want from Minnesota for Adam Thielen that you feel is more valuable to your team long-term than Adam Thielen is valuable? Because while I do think BY is going to be a dog this year, and I think a lot of you are going to have to say, my bad, Rob Brown, you know Bryce Young really is a talented quarterback. Well, I think that will be the case. It is still a prove-it year for Bryce Young. You can look at his performance down the stretch last year. I've already said it a bunch of times. BY, as a passing quarterback, statistically, in the final 6 weeks of the season last year, was the most efficient quarterback in the NFL. More efficient than Lamar, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Statistically speaking, the most efficient quarterback in the final 6 weeks of the season last year. This is a prove-it year that you can take statistically efficient, and you can prove that you can be game-by-game, win-by-win efficient. And if that is the case, and it is a prove-it year, because you don't have Super Bowl aspirations this year, but you might the year after that, what is more valuable? Having, say, a 4th and a 6th, a 3rd and a 7th next year in the draft, or having the guy that has been the guy for Bryce Young in his prove-it year? And the more that I think about it, the more I think Adam Thielen is more valuable to the Panthers this year. Their turn-the-corner year, their transformative year, even though I think they will win the division. I don't think they're a Super Bowl threat. In their turn-the-corner year, in their prove that we are here next year, keeping BY in an offense with the guy that he has empirically been the most comfortable with the last couple of years, to me, is more valuable than a 4th and a 7th round draft pick, which is about what I think at best you're getting back for Adam Thielen, maybe like a 4th and a 6th, maybe a 3rd and a 7th. I think Adam Thielen's comfort level, security blanket level with Bryce Young is more important and more valuable to Bryce Young, and therefore to Dave Canales, and therefore to the Carolina Panthers, than anybody you're going to draft with a 4th and a 7th, or a 3rd and a 7th next year. That's my thought. I think that's why that move got made yesterday by the Panthers of letting Hunter Renfrow go. It is very possible that it was just a wink, wink, nod, nod. Look, there's a very good chance somebody's going to get hurt this year. We got 7 wide receivers. We're keeping 7 on the roster. There's a very good chance that somebody's going to go down to an injury. You're our first call. There is a very good chance that Xavier Legette did not fix the dropsies. And if he did not fix the dropsies, we'll need another hands guy, because Thielen will have to stay at the 2, and we'll need a guy we trust at 3. And while we like Jalen Coker a lot, we trust you as our route guy. So if you are not going to sign anywhere else, go to the wire, hang out there, and you're our first call. And if Adam Thielen genuinely only wants to play for Carolina or not play, he'd be willing to do that. So we'll see how that plays out. But my thought is, at this point, you're not trading Adam Thielen. He is more valuable to Bryce Young as your chemistry guy next year than a 4th and 7th or 4th and 6th or 3rd and 7th round pick the year after that in the draft. Even though you could address the needs that become obvious during the course of this year, when next year you believe that you are ready to be a contender, I think nothing matters if Bryce Young isn't a good quarterback. Nothing matters if BY isn't the guy. And Adam Thielen makes him look like the guy. I think that's where that move got made. RJ texts the show, said Hunter Renfrow would excel as a security blanket for Bryce too. Did that at Clemson for both Deshaun and Trevor Lawrence. Really helped the Panthers bring him back to the roster sooner rather than later. That's a good point. But the difference between Thielen and Renfrow is that's a theory for Hunter Renfrow. It's a proven years-long fact for Adam Thielen. That's why you haven't traded that guy yet. All right, when we come back, let's take a look at some of the other big moves around the other 31 teams in the NFL. Shedeur Sanders involved, a couple of trades yesterday. We'll run over the 53-man cut headlines from yesterday coming up next on The Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Spike, be good, brother. Good luck at the job, my man. Just get through it. You just got to make it to tomorrow, partner.
I'm guessing you probably work Friday too, so you got to make it till Friday.
Yeah, but Friday you'll go in going, all right, I watched some football yesterday.
So when the real football starts Saturday.
Number 4, Clemson football opens up the season Saturday night at home, hosting number 9 LSU. It's the first ever regular season matchup between the two teams. The previous 4 times have been in bowl games, including the 2020 College Football Playoff National Championship, which LSU captured 42-25. Both teams were 14-0 heading into that game. Number 13, South
Hey, look, that just popped on my feed. That forced fumble from Ohio State on the Texas quarterback, running all the way back for a touchdown. So you think Portnoy started the rumor that he was banned?
I think it is absolutely possible.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely possible.
Still slow going I-85 through the upstate this morning. Southbound 85 slows down at Highway 29 Spartanburg and doesn't really get back to speed until past Pelham Road, Greenville. Northbound 85 stalls at 185 and crawls along to 385. And northbound 385 is slow up from Simpsonville. I-26 is wide open east and west. From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on The Fan, upstate.
Your access to cutting-edge pain relief just got even easier. QC Kinetics now offering virtual consultations for new patients. Hey, it's Rob Brown. If you are living with chronic joint pain, you can...
You're not Rob Brown. That's Rob Brown.
Professional from the comfort of your own home. This all-new telemedicine platform is an
I always say that if they ever recorded what is said on the headsets, you can make a lot of money. Because,
your situation. If you're a candidate for
regenerative medicine, you can get your Coach Meyer and I used to go at it, but I think the thing that I really respected about Coach and he respected about me was that he would challenge me. And I would go right back at him because I felt strong about what we did. You know? And as long as you were strong about it, then you respected me. You know, you better be right.
Like that blonde that was dancing, she was dancing strong. And he appreciated how strong she was dancing.
Strongly. She was dancing so strongly.
Because apparently your boy Urban respects strength.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country. When you find yourself facing divorce,
you fly home today? Is this not your home, or are you flying home too? I don't know. If you are coming home, welcome home.
Closest you can come to taking the red pill and exiting the matrix. There's a whole world out here, and it's real. Join us. Find the Battleground America podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Heroes and Villains, the art of the Disney costume, created by the Walt Disney Archives, is now open at the South Carolina State Museum. The exhibition features 70 costumes, including some worn by Debbie.
That sucks for you, dude.
Spartanburg J, have you been kidnapped? Are you being held for ransom? What's the deal?
Tell me you weren't visiting your guy Mark with a C. I would say when work takes me to Michigan, it's time to retire.
Shop these deals in store or online today at Lowe's. We help, you save.
Look, they're showing Lenore Sellers on the screen right now.
Field Yates says he has the highest ceiling of college quarterbacks.
Man, the hair on him makes him look totally different. I mean, look at that guy.
It does.
It doesn't look like the old guy. It looks like a totally different guy. And it got a little bit of tan going, just a little bit. He's tired of looking like a kid. Freaking out. Look how pretty that pass was. Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Okay. I was just kidding, but all right.
NFL's 53-man cut day was yesterday. Teams at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon had to get down to their final opening week roster.
I'm very disappointed. I just found out Carson Steele got cut by the Chiefs.
Oh, no. How's it going to pay for alligator food?
I don't know. The running back room is pretty full. So, and he was like an unsigned free agent.
If that dude doesn't end up in New Orleans, who the hell else, right? Like, who else?
It would make sense,
yeah,
for sure.
Bring that man down, put him in New Orleans. The guy rolls around with a pet alligator and not like, ha, look at me, I have an alligator. Like, that's his dog, man. I love it. Bring him down to New Orleans. I'll take him in a second. All right, let's take a look at some of the biggest moves from yesterday. I've been saying for a while, and we won't spend more than a minute or two here on it. Micah Parsons is gone from Dallas. This isn't a question mark to me anymore. The theory I had, I posted a video on this on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter just a couple of days ago. If you haven't seen it, go give it a watch. But the takeaway was effectively, I've made the realization. The Dallas Cowboys are not a football team. They're a reality show about a football team, right? I have told people for years when I explain professional wrestling, they're like, it's fake. Why do you watch professional wrestling? You know how I watch professional wrestling? I watch professional wrestling not as, it's wrestling. It's a competition and guys are trying to beat each other and girls are trying to pin each other. I watch professional wrestling as an entertainment show about a wrestling company. That's the way I look at it. That helps me keep it in kayfabe, in character. Well, how can you see that guy on TV, doing podcast interviews and talking about this, that, and the other, and then see him as a totally different dude when he's on TV? Same way I do actors. When I see Kevin Costner acting as the GM of the baseball team, what am I watching? I'm watching a movie about a baseball team that actor is portraying. It's real simple. The Dallas Cowboys are a reality television show. And the setting of that reality show is the National Football League. It's a football franchise. It's like watching The Office, right? It's a fake documentary about a group of people portrayed by actors in an office in Pennsylvania. Well, this fake show is about a group of real people trying to play football. Unfortunately, they are run by a director who treats it all as if it's entertainment. It's a reality show. And Jerry Jones is more concerned about getting great ratings than he is about winning games. The problem is Jerry feels that way. Not everybody else does, because Jerry is the only one that sees a direct profit from that team getting good TV ratings on their reality show. I think he's made it personal with Micah Parsons. And even if it requires Micah Parsons to sit out. Now, Jerry Jones did hit him earlier this week with Micah's got 3 more years. Why? Because he can franchise him 2 years in a row. He can tag him 2 years in a row. And see, here's the part that I laugh about with that. If Jerry Jones franchise tags Micah Parsons 2 years in a row, especially if Micah's like, I will sit out as long as I need to, Jerry is throwing away a very important tool and asset and commodity that he has that owners have fought very, very hard to keep. To do what? Just to stick it to Micah Parsons? But I'm going to tell you, if you're the manager of a business and you hurt your own business in order to make a point, you're probably not going to stick around very long. Point of all that is James Houston, who had a grand total of 1 sack, 3 hurries, and 2 tackles for a loss last year, was expected to get cut. He made it as the 6th edge rusher, 6th pass rusher for the Dallas Cowboys. You know what that tells me? They're already preparing to move on. They are already preparing to move. If they thought for a second Micah Parsons was coming back, they'd have left that spot open for him. But they didn't. And that tells me that either they don't think he's coming back, or if he does come back, it's going to take him a while to get back in shape. We will find out. John Mingo was placed on injured reserve. So was, and they do have first rights to bring him back, Phil Maffa, former Clemson Tiger. For the New York Giants, Tommy DeVito cut yesterday. Hey, Tommy. All right, listen, Tommy's going to be just fine. Tommy's got some people looking out for him. They know a guy who may know a guy who may or may not know a guy. We'll see what happens with Tommy DeVito. Outside of that, not a lot else. Emir Smith-Marset was expected to be the returner. He got cut. A little bit of a shock there as he did have a kickoff return for a tutty. It had one for a punt that was called back for a penalty, not on him as well. But they decided to go a different direction. The Philadelphia Phillies did add Sam Howell via trade to the quarterback room. I don't know why, because Tanner McKee, I thought, had a really good preseason. As far as the Commanders, really the biggest move was trading Brian Robinson Jr. to San Francisco last week. They did put starting right guard Sam Cosmi on the PUP list yesterday. He'll be sidelined for at least the 4 first weeks of the season as he rehabs from an ACL injury last year. Not a lot of other shocks there. Buffalo, pretty standard. Chicago, pretty standard stuff. Not a lot to get into. Same with Detroit. You will also find that as we go down these lists, the teams that we really consider Super Bowl contenders this year, a lot more stability when it comes to their 53-man cut day, right? Like you're not going to see a bunch of surprises. One of the few big ones from a team considered a contender this year was Detroit waiving Dan Skipper. Dan Skipper was the offensive lineman who had kind of become a fan favorite because of the tackle-eligible formations and controversy and all that. They did cut him yesterday. I think that was just a money move. I could see him being brought back on a different contract. We'll find out. For the Packers, not a lot of shock there. They did cut Isaiah Simmons and Mecole Hardman. Both got cut by the Packers yesterday. Not a ton of surprises, however, out of them. For the Vikings, they traded away Sam Howell. We mentioned that just a minute ago, over to the Eagles. If I said Phillies, that's my bad. I stayed up late watching the Phillies and the Mets last night, which was a hell of a ball game, by the way. The Mets get the walk-off win. It was
last night
fun.
Lasted an entire year. That's amazing.
Felt like it. I was very tired, and I did not get my siesta yesterday. I was cranky. Not only did I not get my siesta in the middle of the day yesterday, but I did not get my siesta. And then the wife came home, and she's like, hey, we're doing our yard work today. So I didn't get my siesta, and then I had to weed whack our entire lot yesterday. Am I complaining? Is this a first world problem? You're damn right it is. All right? You're damn right it is.
What, do you have like 40 acres? So you had to weed whack 40 acres? Is that what? I mean, because then you would have a reason to be upset.
During the spring, we put borders. We have gardens running all around the house, and we put borders around all of them. And she can't get the lawnmower all the way up. It used to be she could just run over where the garden and the lawn melt. Now she can't because there's railroad ties as a border now. So I have to weed whack the entire border and the entire house and the entire outside of the property around the fences and whatnot.
Get that lady a zero turn so she can hug that thing tight. Then you don't have to go out there and do it anymore. I'm just saying.
I mean, she despises weed whacking, so that's my job. It's fine. It's fine. If that's my biggest problem, I'll live. All right. No other real surprises out of them. For the Atlanta Falcons, biggest surprise is not a move. It's that Caleb McGarry, who was the starting right tackle. And you will remember Michael Penix Jr., left-handed. So the right tackle is the blindside tackle. He is done for the year. Placed him on IR without designation to return. He is out for the entire season due to a leg injury from practice last week. They will have to go with Storm Norton, the backup, to protect Michael Penix Jr.'s backside. The Falcons did acquire tackle Michael Jarrell from the Seahawks in a trade as well. For the New Orleans Saints, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Cam Akers, a pair of former Pro Bowl running backs, both cut yesterday. Can I tell you one thing I'm actually really excited about for New Orleans this year? Kendre Miller, who is the former running back out of TCU, has been on this roster for a couple of years and has showed flashes of absolute brilliance. But I've spoken to folks on the ground down in New Orleans who cover this team, who said that Dennis Allen, the former head coach of this team, really just did not like Kendre Miller. That's why he never really got a shot. Even when Kamara went down, Miller barely saw his tote load increase. I think Kendre Miller could be a bit of a surprise for New Orleans. They also named Spencer Rattler the starting QB in New Orleans yesterday. Say it with me. #Rat Daddy season.
Please tell me none of you said that with him.
I hope you all said it with me. You Gamecock fans, now we ride together. All right? Spence is going to get the QB1 spot. The new head coach down there, Kellen Moore, did say that it is closed. It is not a weekly competition between him and Tyler Shuck. He is QB1.
We've heard
no
that.
questions
We've
asked.
heard that before from coaches. So.
For sure. And I think you want to convince Spencer Rattler because, again, how many times have we said, if you got a QB who's constantly looking over the shoulder at the replacement, he's going to play conservative. I can't have Spencer Rattler play conservatively. Spencer Rattler's got to be going down the field, taking shots. That's what made him him. I don't want him looking over his shoulder, worrying if Tyler Shuck's going to suddenly take the spot away. I want him out there balling out. And if he does, with a healthy and improved wide receiver core, with Kamara back and healthy, Spencer Rattler got 6 starts last year. He went 0-6 with a bunch of plumbers and electricians as his wide receivers. Like, it was just bad, banged up. So he's QB1. We'll see how that plays out. Taysom Hill and Foster Moreau both listed on the reserve PUP list to return later in the season. The Buccaneers, not a lot going on. Kyle Trask was cut as the backup. Teddy Bridgewater is now officially QB2. The Arizona Cardinals kept first-round pick Walter Nolan III on the PUP list, meaning he cannot return to practice or games for the first 4 weeks of the season. We'll see if the rookie, who was expected to have an immediate impact, is able to come back. The Rams cut their 5th-round pick, Chris Paul Jr., missed some time with a calf injury during training camp, did play in all 3, wore the green dot as El Capitan, but he did not make the roster, despite the Rams keeping 4 inside linebackers. Their 5th-round draft pick, not one of them. The 49ers kept Juwan Jennings on the 53-man roster, has not returned from a calf injury with a contract dispute going on right now. The Niners want him on the field sooner rather than later, but without a big fat extension. The problem is they are very thin at wide receiver, though they did release Robbie Chosen, who's still in the league. The Seahawks released Marquez Valdez-Scantling after they could not find a trade for the $2.5 million that remains on his 1-year contract. So he is out. Seattle signed him to be wide receiver 3 and replace the speed they lost in DK Metcalf, but they needed some room for some lower chart special teams aces, and he was not one of them. The Bills put Max Hairston, a first-round pick, on injured reserve with the designation to return. Tre'Davious White is on the 53-man roster. The cornerback will get through the injury. For the Dolphins, Mike Hilton released. That was maybe one of the big ones, too. A lot of prior starting experience, thought that he would be back, but they do have rookie Jason Marshall Jr. The Dolphins are pretty excited about that. They released a number of recent draft picks. The Dolphins have just clearly not drafted well. The Patriots did not do much to jump on anybody. Harrison Phillips, former Vikings defensive tackle, has signed with the Jets. That's really the biggest move out there. Not a lot of surprising cuts for them. Isaiah Likely not on injured reserve, so there's belief that the Ravens will have their touchdown ace at tight end alongside Mark Andrews back, or excuse me, I should say slot receiver back with Mark Andrews this year. We'll see how that works out for the Bengals. Just 8 offensive linemen for the Bengals. That's shocking to me. That's shocking to me. The only way you're winning games is scoring 49. The only way you're scoring 49 is if Joey Burrow is upright. How do you only take 8 when you've had the injuries? For the Browns, no big shock. Kenny Pickett was traded away. Shedeur Sanders officially on the roster, listed as QB3 behind Dylan Gabriel. We will talk about that a little bit in the next hour. Not a lot going on for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Colts released 2023 second-round pick Juju Brents in a bit of a surprise move. The Jags shored up the defensive line. They did cut some offensive tackles to make some room for run stoppers. The Titans released Xavier Restrepo, which was kind of weird. He was one of Cam Ward's biggest targets at Miami last year, so you thought they were going to have a tandem. Not a lot going on for the Chiefs other than some moves. They do have 8 wide receivers on the roster. That's a lot. But somebody's got to catch the ball from Mahomes this year.
Come on, please let me make it. Please let me make it.
Yeah, pretty much at this point. All right, we'll talk more about that in the next hour of the show. Denton Day going to join us here in about 25 minutes from now. We'll look at the college week 1 schedule, get some thoughts and picks from Denton Day. All of that comes after Lonzo gives you a Heisman Trophy caliber sports flash.
I tried to stay away from the soccer story. Now I have no choice because of everything he just did. A pair of second-half goals separated Clemson men's soccer from their rivals from Columbia as the Tigers down the Gamecocks 4-1. The win is Clemson's first of the season, while the Gamecocks move to 1-1. There, I did it at least once. A ninth inning offensive explosion powered the Atlanta Braves to an 11-2 win over Miami. Hurston Waldrop had another solid outing, allowing 8 hits but only 1 run across 5.1 innings. Atlanta notched a dozen hits, including 4 in the top of the ninth. Atlanta finishes the series this afternoon at 1:10. Shedeur Sanders did make the Cleveland Browns roster after backup quarterback Kenny Pickett was traded to the Raiders earlier this week. Sanders was listed as number 3 on the depth chart behind fellow rookie Dylan Gabriel. Former Clemson Tiger Deshaun Watson was placed on the PUP list, expected to miss most of the season, rehabbing an Achilles injury. All right, the entire week still grabbing the wrong mouse. Maybe by next week, I will get comfortable with the new layout.
Celebrate Bob's Discount Furniture's 200-store milestone this Labor Day weekend. Oh my God.
Famous Footwear has the latest styles from all my favorite brands like Nike, Adidas, Crocs, Converse, New Balance, Birkenstock, and more. And with over 830 stores, Famous Footwear is always nearby with fit experts to make sure my new shoes fit my feet and mom's budget. She says the prices are like really good, so you don't have to overspend to make it famous. Right now, buy 1 pair of shoes, get 1 half off at your local Famous Footwear store. Some exclusions apply.
Mad World Haunted Attraction opens September 5th. Get ready for 15 years of fear at Mad World. Mad World is much more than just a haunted house. It's a vault tradition.
As the Mad World commercial is playing, is this year we get robbed the Mad World? I doubt it, but, you know, we can hope. Maybe we can trick them somehow. I don't know. Dares and bets won't work to get them there, so it's going to have to be some sort of trick. Maybe blindfold, kidnap, and when we pull the hood off, Rob finds out he's at Mad World. And then he's already in the middle of it, and he has to find his way out. It's pretty vast. So
when we took that tour that one year, I didn't say this to anybody because I absolutely knew that coworkers would take advantage of it. I was terrified the entire time I was going to turn a corner and have somebody jump out at me. And then everybody with me would start laughing hysterically.
Without a doubt, that would have happened. But, you know, that's part of the fun of getting scared. I mean,
it's not fun.
Steven, I'm guessing if she could have got him there, she already would have. Why not, you know, like build up a tolerance, start at a smaller one and just work your way up, like a haunted creek or a haunted hayride or something in the area, and then just kind of work your way up to Mad World. If you haven't reached the point where your bones creak when you walk all the time, you can sneak up on them sometimes and scare the actors that are trying to scare you.
Buddy, pal. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. Ladies and gentlemen, the preseason is over. The season is here. We had college football this past Saturday. We have college football tomorrow. We have college football Friday. We have college football Saturday. We have college football Sunday. We have college football Monday. And when Monday is over, you only have to get through Tuesday and Wednesday. Because next Thursday, we have college football and we have our first NFL game of the year when the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys get it on. We're here, people. I don't know if it was the same way for you because I get up and I leave the house dramatically earlier than any other normal people do. But I opened the door this morning at about 3:40 a.m. to take the puppy outside. That's the start of our day. The alarm goes off. The doggo hears it. She wakes up. She says, let's go. I take her outside. I open the door. And if it did not feel like even Mother Nature herself was celebrating the arrival of football this week. Oh, man, if only for just a few minutes this morning, it was hoodie weather outside. It was football weather outside, dudes and dudettes. So we have talked a lot of football on the show this morning. We're going to talk a lot more football as the show progresses. Coming up in the very next segment of the radio program, the illustrious Denton Day of the BetMGM Network is going to join us. We're going to talk some week one college football with him on the show. But we didn't do the audio blitz in the last segment. I got some good audio to talk about here on the show. So let's get some stuff in here. We'll start with this one. KJ Hamler of the Buffalo Bills. Every now and then, a player grabs a mic and says something that makes me go, I like that guy.
There was also a part with a pregnancy pillow, that you have a pregnancy pillow in your room. And you said that helps.
Yes.
Can you please give me the logic behind that?
Well, they say, like, when you have a pillow between your legs when you sleep, your hips stay aligned. And so, like, them beds, if you ain't slept in them dorm beds too soft. Like, I'm a stomach sleeper. I sleep on my stomach. So I'm not trying to sink into the bed and have my back all hurting and stuff like that. So I took the initiative to give me a pregnancy pillow, and that thing does justice. I ain't gonna lie. That's the best thing ever, I swear. $25 on Amazon. Get you right.
You know he's mad, though, because one of his teammates busted him out on that because he sounded really surprised at the beginning, like someone done told him.
I watched that clip of KJ Hamler, and it started with a conversation that he was actually mad about because he said he went to I'll just say a box store. I won't say which one. He said he went there and he bought a small scooter because a lot of these teams, when they go to camp and they're camping at colleges and stuff like that, and they do that to, get away from the facility, bring the guys to an unfamiliar scenario, bunk them up with other roommates in a dorm room so the team builds some chemistry, whatever. But that also means for a lot of them, they have to traverse some distance between where they're staying and the locker room and the field. So he said, I went and got myself a scooter that they said would be wonderful for getting me to and from practice because we got a little bit of a hike. He said, I bought it and the thing doesn't have enough gas to carry me from the dorm to the field and back. So I ended up with a scooter that I just kind of had to scooter on. And then the guy's like, well, since we're talking about weird stuff, what about the pillow? And I'm going to say this. I'm a side sleeper. All right. I cannot sleep on my stomach. I cannot sleep on my back. I don't know why. If I can't take a nap, I lay on my back because I cannot fall asleep on my back. Here's what I'm going to tell you. As a side sleeper, a couple of years ago, I had a doctor tell me, if you wedge a pillow between your legs when you lay on your side, you're going to feel like a different human being in the morning. And when I tell you, boy, when the wife and I found the right mattress that I liked, and I went and got myself I didn't get a pregnancy pillow, but I got myself like a contoured pillow, kind of dented in on both sides, meant to go. I'm a different human being, different person. Good on him for recognizing that. Like, it takes some time. It takes some time. Mike Vrabel, another press conference where Mike Vrabel was not happy.
Mike, there was a report today that Jalen Pope will have to have season-ending shoulder surgery. Can you add anything to that?
No. I don't know, other than I'd like to find out where some of these come from. You know, some of these rats around here. So we'll figure that out.
Some of these rats around here.
Got a rat around here.
We got a rat around here.
Somebody's a rat.
I'm just saying, Mike Vrabel, if you need to find out who the rat is, I know you've got a loaded quarterback spot, but there's a cat named Tommy right down the road. Tommy DeVito, not too far from you. He's up in Jersey. But if you got to find a rat, who else do you call but Tommy DeVito? There it is. There's your landing spot. Tommy DeVito back up to Drake May. It's perfect. It's already written. You got to find a rat? Why not that guy? Why not that guy?
When he shows up and immediately 3 people get cut, you'll know why.
That's exactly it. Found a rat. Found the rat. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has a podcast coming out in not too long from now, as a matter of fact, is the new NASCAR video game. It has been a while since NASCAR put out a game. People like me, I actually love the NASCAR video game series. Got myself the whole driving rig. It's not like a big, nice, expensive one, but got myself the actual rig to drive on. I love these games. It's been a while. Welp, Dale Jr.'s producer, accidentally outed himself on the pod.
There were a bunch of drivers that posted that they tried the NASCAR 25 game last week. Did you get a chance to play it?
No, I wasn't here. We heard you did.
I did.
This was at Junior Motorsports.
Yeah.
Right? We were jealous. So what did you see?
Steven was practicing when I walked up.
Steven who?
Stefan.
During work hours. I'm glad a lot of work was getting done last week.
Hey, this is work because we're talking about it now on the show.
Okay.
I was
Not
doing
loving
research.
this so far.
If that ain't the most Robin Lonzo conversation that's ever happened in a professional sporting environment, I don't know what is. Wait a minute. You guys were playing video games during working hours? It's show prep.
I mean, come on. Exactly.
Show prep. Yeah, boss. I was playing Madden because this year's Madden calls plays for the CPU based on what that team is doing in real life, in real time. I am using this opportunity to learn about the game. I am using this opportunity to get familiar with next week's opponent for the Carolina Panthers. It is show prep.
Yeah, I also have another show where I review video games. So I mean, you know, I'm covered either way.
Yeah, it's show prep. Of course we're doing that. It is show prep, man. I respect that. All right, we got time one or two more. We got Denton Day coming up in the next segment of the show. Hey, Joe Flacco, you're 41 years old. How do you stay ready to play?
I do a lot of the same stuff I've always done, you know, and like mindset wise, I think I've done a lot of the same stuff. In terms of preparing my body, like I think I've gotten better and better at that each year. You know, you're constantly looking towards things. The pickleball thing comes up because at some point I realized, like, listen, like you can go out there and run and condition and do those things, but it's better when you're playing a game.
Yeah.
You know, isn't it better to go play basketball and get yourself in shape and actually play? Like that's how I was. I you know, a couple off seasons ago, I kind of realized, you know, when I was a kid and you're in great shape, it's because you're just playing all kinds of games and you're working your brain and your body at the same time. So I think that's really important to go back to because I think you can fall into a trap of like getting in the weight room and then kind of you think you've been very productive for the day because you worked out for an hour and a half, but you're really not doing much the rest of the rest of the day. But when you're playing games, you're just kind of keeping yourself into it. And then just like preparing now mentally, I think as you get older, you get better at it, but you also get more relaxed. You're able to be yourself a little bit more as opposed to stressing about little things. You know what not to worry about, so you can focus on the important things and, you know, really come out and let yourself shine.
Like, not even sarcastic. I love that. I love that from Joe Flacco. They're like, yeah, man, how do you stay ready to play in the NFL at your age? And he said 2 things. Number 1, recognize that when you're young and you're in your prime, what do you do the most of? You play games. You go out and you have fun. You live your best life. And then he said, and as you get older, you start to get better at, and I can definitely say this is true now. As you get older, you start to get better at recognizing things that are actually important, things you should actually put effort and energy into, and things that you should not. Zoe and I were having a conversation off the air a couple of breaks ago where we were talking about, and I don't even remember what it was that led to the conversation, but I said, I have recognized, even in just my 5 years here in South Carolina, that my on-air persona, which I think people who know me would tell you, it might be a little bit louder on the radio than I am in real life, but it's the same guy. Like, I'm not a hot take guy. I'm not a manufactured takes guy. I'm a dude who comes on and I am just a genuine version of myself. But there used to be elements of myself, my personality, whatever, that I kind of used to hide from being on the radio for fear of judgment from listeners that would go, oh, I can't support this guy, whatever. And now I don't care anymore. I don't. I drink a lot of whiskey on the weekends. I go to loud rock and roll shows. I stay up irresponsibly late most nights of my life.
You're 47. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm 47, that might have to change. And I will even tell you that I had a recognition last night because last night there was a really good rock and roll show over at the amphitheater that I had tickets to. Well, I could have gotten tickets to. And I really wanted to go, but I decided genuinely like 2 hours before I needed to leave for the show, I decided not to go. And I was mad at myself. Collective Soul was playing. I got mad at myself. Oh, Our Lady Peace was playing also. And I'll just say, Zoe, they were the band that played a walkout song for at one time, very popular wrestler that we don't say his name anymore. They played that song and I wish I was there for that. But
yeah, I know Chris was talking to me about that yesterday.
Yeah.
So, and he said they played it and I said, should they?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if they should or not. Anyway,
they said a couple of shows ago that Our Lady Peace was going to start playing his old walkout music because they haven't played it since that happened and they wanted to take their song back. And I respect that. I really do. Point of all of that is,
I think also the thing is you thought about, okay, if I'm going there, it's going to take me 3 hours to get out of that place. I ain't getting home till tomorrow.
Correct. It was going to take me 3 hours to get out. It was going to be on top of that, upwards of a 45-minute drive on the interstate to get back. Had that show ended at, let's say, 10, which is, I think, when most of them end. Had that show ended at 10, I wasn't getting home till legitimately almost midnight or so. I hit a point last night where I made a decision not to go see a rock and roll show that I wanted to go see because I knew it was going to wreck me for the rest of the week. And I'm already going to do a good enough job wrecking myself.
If it were Creed again, would you have thought the same?
Not even a thought. I'd have been there at 2 p.m. lined up to get in. Absolutely. So all of that being said, I love that take from Joe Flacco because I have gotten to the point after turning 40 not terribly long ago that I do not care if you judge me anymore. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tell you. The over-under a number of brewskis that I'm going to have downed by 3:30 in the afternoon Saturday is going to be high.
What the hey, dude?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. The over-under on number of whiskeys and sodas I'm going to drink on Sunday when the Gamecocks are playing and the ladies enjoying her college football is going to be high. Judge me, I don't care anymore. I get it, Joe Flacco. I get it, and I like it, Joe Flacco. Way to be a dude. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of a dude, when we come back here in the next segment of the show, we are going to have not a dude, but the dude, a dude that I enjoy talking college football with more than anybody else in the game. And that's saying something because I'm friends with Ryan Horvat. And yet, when given the opportunity, you know that I am bringing on my dude, Denton Day. Denton Day going to start up his weekly spots on Wednesdays again moving forward, and he starts them next. I am Rob Brown. He is Lonzo. Denton Day up next on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, stay right there. Denton, hang out. I'll bring you on in 20 seconds. Don't go anywhere. What's up, you handsome devil, you?
What up, gangsters? How we doing?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you guys?
I'm here. I'm working, but my job's fun. So what can I say?
I will speak for myself. I am fine. Thank you.
You guys talking Taylor Swift and Travis all day today or what?
Dude, I opened the show making a joke where I did a long setup about like NFL cut day, and I sat down and I was absolutely shocked because Adam Schefter dropped the bomb of the day, and then I played the clip of Schefter breaking into ESPN to announce it, right? I got not one, not two, not three, but 4 straight up FUs on the text line.
You'll really appreciate this, though. Then I played a Taylor Swift song, which Rob sang along to, and I have that audio without the music. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but I have it.
That's great promo material.
Oh, for sure. Listen, all I'm saying is this, Denton Day, about every 10 years, the rest of America makes me sit around and hear a gazillion hours of coverage of a royal wedding or a royal baby. This is America's royal wedding. And damn it, if I'm not going to celebrate love, passion, romance, and happiness. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, this literally is the royal wedding. I'm going to rock, too. Yeah, I was curious. I was like, what do you get? What kind of diamond do you get someone that can literally buy a country?
Someone said it was an infinity stone, and yeah, I agree. Did she buy her own ring?
She can snap her fingers and summon all the white ladies.
And it just happened. They dropped it when pumpkin spice lattes returned. So coincidence or what?
Joining us now on the Rob Show. Just the Rob Show.
Joining us now on the Rob Show.
It's the Hot Rob Show.
On the Rob Show.
Joining us. I sounded like a local cable, like local access TV host right there. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now on the Rob Brown Show to spend the next 14 minutes of your life going into great detail of the engagement of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, the illustrious Denton Day from the BetMGM Network joining us. We're actually going to talk a little college football on the show. You glorious son of a gun. How you doing, Denton Day? Glad to have you back in the fold, brother.
I'm happy to be here. I did lose a little sleep last night because of the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce engagement. My wife she's not like a terrible Swiftie, but she definitely likes Taylor Swift. So I was getting a little bit of the runaround as to why this actually happened a couple weeks ago, which ended up being accurate, and how she was able to tell with flowers and nails and all these different things. So I do have details if you want them, but I'd much rather prefer talking Texas, Ohio State.
We're going to do that. I will say I'm in the same boat. The wife, like not a diehard, but she is a Swiftie. And I will acknowledge I don't even care. I'm not too ashamed. I'm 40 years old, judge away. I like Taylor Swift quite a bit. It basically...
You're 47. What are you going to do?
Own it. I'm going to own it every second of my life. If y'all make me every 10 years sit around and watch a royal wedding or a royal baby or whatever, y'all can all sit down and relax for just a minute while Travis and Taylor get together. Deal with it.
Honestly, I feel the same way. It'll probably be way more entertaining than the royal wedding because I'll know more people at the wedding. So I'm looking forward to that. I can be like, hey, I've seen him before. Oh, I know who that is. Like, oh my God, that's Patrick Mahomes. Oh my God, Jason. Where's Jason's shirt?
Jason Kelce's 100% being a flower girl, and I can't wait to see it. Yeah. I would also like to point out that the wife, being a mild Swiftie, is also much more inclined to watch football games if she knows TAYTAY is going to be there, and is somebody who has to week in, week out sincerely and profusely apologize to my wife for making her a football widow for like 22 straight weekends a year. If she justifies watching more football because TAYTAY's there, win for all of us.
Right. You got to tell her, like, sweetie, I think Taylor Swift is actually dating the quarterback in Florida now, too. Like, oh my God, like Lenore Sellers is playing. I already know somebody that knows Taylor Swift.
Let's talk a little college football. You brought up the Florida Gators there, and I do want to get to Ohio State, Texas, but let's talk about the game that's right here in our backyard, Denton Day. That, of course, would be the Clemson Tigers and the LSU Tigers, the Death Valley Tigers versus the Death Valley Tigers. This game to us, obviously here in the upstate of South Carolina, most interesting game of the weekend. And I was looking for kind of narrative storyline for both. I saw that Peter Burns of the SEC Network said the other day, Brian Kelly's not on the hot seat. If he is not on the hot seat, he's doing that bathroom stall thing where he's like hanging on both guardrails and like hovering over the seat because he's got to go, but he doesn't want to touch it, whatever. Like that's what he's doing to the hot seat. This game's important for that. And because 2 weeks later, DJ Lagway and the Florida Gators are coming to town. If they lose this game, there's a chance they could start this season genuinely 1-2. And then I think Brian Kelly is up against the wall. And then on the flip side, Clemson, maybe the best defensive 7 in football, but this year, and I think this game included, is a referendum on if the Dabo Swinney way still works. Denton Day, and that's what makes it appealing from a narrative perspective. Whether it's narrative or whether it's X's and O's in this game, what's your take on Clemson, LSU, and what it means to those teams and to college football out of the gate?
So Clemson does not need this as much as LSU needs it because you are correct. While Brian Kelly might not be on the hot seat, he's in the same room as the hot seat, and he definitely has his eyes on the hot seat. You can't, from his perspective, start consistently losing that week 1 game. Like, it's very nice that they schedule tough week 1 games. I love it. You love it. Everybody loves it. We want to see good matchups. I don't need to see much of Georgia and Marshall this weekend, but I can see a lot of LSU and Clemson. So I love that they constantly schedule these sorts of matchups, but eventually you do have to win them. Your job is to win games, and considering how you were on the outside looking in last year of the college football playoff, you can't be in that position again. And 2 years ago, you squandered Jaden Daniels, who had one of the great seasons in quite some time as a Heisman Trophy winner because your defense was so bad. So there's a lot of pressure on him. It doesn't help that he said he came to LSU to win championships, and then his former school was in the national championship last year. I don't think he's on the hot seat in terms of they need to win a championship this year, but he's definitely on the hot seat in terms of you need to get to the college football playoff, or at least be in that conversation, because we kind of knew in November they were not going to get in last year. You need to be in that conversation from today until the very, very end of it.
Denton Day from the BetMGM Network, also the host of College Football Overtime on Sirius XM, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Let's flip it over to the other big game in this area. Of course, probably not as much in terms of national prominence, but the Gamecocks of South Carolina are as about excited about their football team as they've been in a long time. Lenora Sellers, top 5 shortest odds to win the Heisman. Shane Beamer's got this fan base believing that they are absolutely pointed in the right direction. Day, if this team, with I think the toughest 7-game stretch in the back half of the schedule of anybody in football, with the schedule they have laid out ahead of them, I think not only does South Carolina have to go 5-0 to start the season if they want any outside shot to get in, but I also think that they've got to put it on Tech out of the gate to prove to voters well in advance, you need to keep an eye on us. How big is this game for South Carolina, and is this a game they can go out there, win by a couple of scores, and go ahead and start underlining their names in the top 25?
Yeah, this is a cementing of your position on the card kind of a game. You need to go out there and you need to smack Virginia Tech around. You know, you're playing on a day where there's not a lot of games going on, so you are kind of the main event for that window. You got to go and you got to smack them around. You know, you don't want to be what Oregon was to start last year, which is having a lot of high expectations and then being pushed by like Idaho State. You know, Virginia Tech is better than Idaho State, certainly, but they're not nearly on what your level is, or at least what we are anticipating your level to be. So it would be very, very nice if South Carolina can kind of flex their muscles on Virginia Tech, who's a middle-of-the-pack ACC team, and prove that Lenore Sellers is deserving of some of these high expectations and some of the, as you mentioned, the gambling odds in his favor, suggesting that he is a contender for the Heisman Trophy. But it is also good for your program to be like, yeah, this is not just press clippings because people were bored. We are actually good, and we are actually going to be a threat in not just our conference, but if things go really, really right, we will be a threat in the whole entire shebang and make it into the college football playoff.
Denton Day joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. So then I'll ask you, do you look at South Carolina as a team? I think I've already said, I think 9-3 against this schedule would be stellar. You've got LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Clemson, all waiting for you in the back half. I think 9-3 would be stellar. And if they can go 9-3 with that schedule, I think South Carolina, if nothing else, is in the conversation to be the first 9-3 at-large bid to make the playoffs. Is that on the table? Do you think this team's got the guts to pull it off?
I definitely think that a 3-loss SEC team is on the table this year, mostly because I don't think that 2 ACC teams are going to get in like we saw last year. So that leaves an open spot, which would have been filled by a 3-loss SEC team last year had we not gotten 2 ACC teams in. So I think right from the jump, that leaves South Carolina or whoever in a position that they'll be able to capitalize. I think with their schedule in particular, taking into account not only is it just one of the toughest in general, but they do play in the SEC, and you would also think that they'd have a couple of good quality wins on that of the 9 there as well. So I think a 9-3 South Carolina team, as long as they're not getting absolutely shellacked, if you're keeping it close, and it doesn't even have to be super close, but if it's just like 10 points, 8 points, something along those lines, you'll be in a pretty good spot. Now, if it's deep in the season, Robin, it's 30 points. You're scratching your head and saying, I don't know about this one. Like, this is a little bit more difficult to stomach. But if they're close games, then a 9-3 South Carolina team with this schedule should theoretically get in.
I would agree with that entirely. So let's embrace something that you gave in that answer, which is you don't think 2 ACC teams go in. So I'm gonna assume you're gonna disagree with what I'm about to say, Denton Day. But I want to see if you think I'm a lunatic or, hey, maybe you got a shot. I think the ACC is better than anybody's going to give it credit for. And here's the rationale. We know Clemson's going to win this conference. They're a national championship contender.
Yes.
Miami, Carson Beck, 24-3 at Georgia. You can't sneeze at the numbers he put up there. As long as Mario Cristobal doesn't slam the door on his own genitalia, Miami should be a good enough playoff team this year. SMU was there last year. Yes, they lost their running back core, but Kevin Jennings is a dog. Rhett Lashley's a dog. I think Georgia Tech could be as good as 10-2 this year. I am all in on what Brent Key is doing. Miller Moss at Louisville. This is a guy Jeff Brom went to go get to bring him there because he believes in an offense that will throw it 75 times a game. He could be the guy that pushes them to the next level. And need I remind you that aside from maybe bounce back from Florida State, maybe Bill Belichick, the wild card at UNC, actually has it, I would also point out Duke won 9 games last year. Now, whether that's because Elko left the cupboard stocked or because Manny Diaz getting his ass whipped at Miami, it put 2 and 2 together and figured out how to coach, I don't know. But I think this conference is better than anybody's given it credit for. I think there's 2 teams going, and a better than 0 shot, they could get 3.
So first, I'm sneezing at Carson Beck's numbers. Not a fan.
Okay.
Not a fan at all. I think you'll see a much different quarterback in Miami. I still feel like it's very easy to be successful at Georgia because they have so many things going their direction. Whereas Miami has a lot of talent, but they don't have nearly the amount of, shall we say, program stability, program competence. Competence is probably the better word there. They don't have nearly as much program competence because, as you mentioned, Mario Cristobal is not great in big games. So I would sneeze at them. You're spot on with Georgia Tech. They were the only team, truthfully, that I would consider right now as a team that could possibly surprise and get in. I do think a 10-2 Georgia Tech, if we paint the scenario, Rob, a 10-2 Georgia Tech team that plays in the ACC championship but loses to Clemson, because we know Clemson is going to win this whole thing. But a 10-2 Georgia Tech team going up against a potential 9-3 South Carolina team is going to put the committee in hell. Because you have that South Carolina team that is a really, really tough schedule. But if Georgia Tech is going 10-2, and it's not like their schedule is sensational, but you would theoretically say, all right, if you're going 10-2, you're losing to Georgia and Clemson. Those are 2 pretty good losses. And if you have 10 wins, that should theoretically position you in a 12-team playoff to get in. So Georgia Tech is the one team in this conference that I think is really going to make some people sweat if they play as well as I think they will.
Denton Day, host of College Football Overtime on Sirius XM and on the BetMGM Network, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, let's get to the highlight game of the weekend. That is Texas taking on Ohio State. This one up in Ohio Stadium. 36,000-foot view of this game. We've heard the conversation about Arch Manning, maybe football Jesus, maybe not. We'll find out. We know Julian saying, as far as I'm concerned, if he was good enough for the Nick Tater at Alabama, I'm going to trust that he's a dude and Ryan Day will know what to do. What do you make of this game? First time ever that a preseason AP number 1 goes into a game as an underdog in week 1.
It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I think Arch is going to be a good quarterback in college football. I don't think he's going to win the Heisman. I would encourage you and any of your listeners, do not bet him to win the Heisman. You don't bet the preseason favorite to win the Heisman. They never have. So do not do that. But I do think he's going to be a good quarterback. I think people are sleeping a little bit, though, on Ohio State just because of we don't know much about Sayin. At the very least, with Arch Manning, is we know the Manning last name, and this guy's been on our television for years, albeit not playing a ton, but just the image of him has been on television for years, whereas we don't know anything about this Sayin kid. But I think there's something about Ryan Day in the big games and the big moments. He's going to draw up an offense that's going to make life really, really easy for Sayin. I know losing Chip Kelly stinks. I know losing Jim Knowles stinks, and it makes it very difficult, but I'm fairly confident that Ohio State's going to be a great team again this year. So I do like Ohio State very, very briefly, Rob, to edge out Texas. I am waiting to make an official play on that to take them on the spread or not. I'm kind of waiting, hoping that a lot of the money is going to be in the direction of Texas. Right now it's 61% in the direction of Texas, and I'm a little bit of a contrarian when it comes to these sorts of things. So I'm waiting for that number to get just a little bit higher, but I'm going with Ohio State. I think they get it done week number 1.
Funny enough, that's exactly what I said last night on BetMGM Network too. Give me the Buckeyes at the crib for the outright. I'm up in the air on how I want to play the number, whatever. That being said, there was one more factor that I threw in there that I'm curious to get your thoughts on. We talked about Mario Cristobal and his ability to absolutely bleep the bed in big games. Steve Sarkisian, I think, escapes criticism, and I think has done that too. He did it when he was out on the left coast. He's done it a couple times at Texas. I would point out last year, I really think every loss Texas took last year, including at Ohio State, I can point to 2 or 3 calls that you go, what is this play call here, including that goal line opportunity to tie the game against the Buckeyes, which I think might have been the worst individual series play calling of any team I saw outside of Miami's loss to Georgia Tech. I think Steve Sarkisian has escaped criticism for kind of fading down the stretch in the big game. And a little bit of that crept into my mind as a reason for picking Ohio State. Am I overplaying my hand here?
Not overplaying, not drastically overplaying, I would say. I do think there are some shortcomings with Sark in terms of some of the big game execution, but it also kind of depends on what you consider to be the big games, because we've also seen him just blitz dudes in the Big 12 championship. I mean, you remember a couple of years ago when they were really, really good and ultimately ended up getting into the 4 team and then playing Washington. In that Big 12 championship game, they were throwing touchdown passes to defensive linemen at tight end in the first quarter. Like, he was just so in his bag with some of the stuff that he was doing. So I think he kind of teeter-totters on being like a really, really good big game coach, but sometimes getting in his own way. It's not quite like the Bugs. Is it Bugs Bunny or is it's Tom and Jerry, where he's stepping on the rakes all of the time? Like, he's not that. Mario Cristobal is kind of that. He's just constantly finding on new things to step on that'll eventually hit him in the mouth. He's not that, but he does have some shortcomings. I will agree with you there.
Denton Day, the host of College Football Overtime on Sirius XM. He is also a host and producer on the BetMGM Network, 106.7 The Fan and Team 980. He is also an absolute dude. We'll be joining the show every single Wednesday at 9:20 to talk college football all season long. My brother, good to have you back, buddy.
He also doesn't get nearly enough sleep because of all these jobs. But fellas, we are so back, and I can't complain.
See, it's not just the incredibly high sex appeal we share, Denton Day. It's also that's the life we live.
It is.
Go get a siesta, partner. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, see you, fellas.
Later, buddy. Denton Day, an absolute icon, joining us every Wednesday here on the Rob Brown Show to talk some college football. When we come back, we run through a bunch of stories we haven't gotten to yet, and we call it a day because tomorrow's football day on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
By a bunch, you mean like 2?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. All right, guys, stay right there. We will be right back for the final segment. Don't go anywhere. Rob Brown Show, wrapping it up here on a Wednesday, which means that's tomorrow is Thursday. And if tomorrow is Thursday, tomorrow is football day in America. Tomorrow is 0 more days till the next round of collegiate football. And tomorrow will be exactly and precisely 7 days from the kickoff of the National Football League season. Hang in there, people. It's almost that time. All right.
You know, you mentioned the NFL game next week. You know, there's one on Friday also.
There is one on Friday.
Yes.
That is correct. And okay, I don't know who is playing on Friday.
Chiefs.
Oh, that's why you know.
Well, yeah. And Jim Harbaugh.
The Chargers.
Yeah.
That's right. It's Lonzo's favorite team versus Lonzo's favorite coach. Chiefs Chargers. Can't wait. Let's go. It's the Zo Bowl.
By the way, I don't have a problem with Harbaugh in the NFL.
The Lonz Bowl.
I'm good with Harbaugh in the NFL.
I mean, he's in the NFL.
It's weird. I know I should hate him because he coached at Michigan, but he's also from Ohio. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Hey, take it where you can get it. Tomorrow we will be 1 week from the NFL kicking off. Dallas, Philly at 8:20 next Thursday. Kansas City and LA on Friday, and then a full slate of games on Sunday. Wrapping up with Monday Night Football. Minnesota at Chicago. Minnesota, by the way, in that game, you know, I've been telling you, I think the Bears are going to be good this year. Not great, not win the division, but good. You know what the line on that game is? Minnesota's favored by 1.5 points.
See, I think
telling you they're close.
They're both going to be similar and a notch below Green Bay because Green Bay is going to win that division.
That's not a bad pick. Ryan Horvat would agree with you on that one. He's also a big Packers fan, so he's a bit biased. The question mark about that line is very simply, is that line because Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams are going to take some time to get going? Or is that line because the folks in Vegas don't believe in J.J. McCarthy? And the true answer to that is, I got no idea.
I don't believe in either quarterback, either the Chicago quarterback or the Minnesota quarterback.
It's
just a matter of time before a trade happens and Atlanta sends a quarterback back to Minnesota. Hey, we made a mistake. Come on home.
I am placing Caleb Williams in the Bryce Young camp of you have no idea if he's a good quarterback or not because he has been inside of a dumpster fire of a franchise, inside of a larger dumpster fire of a franchise.
Yeah, and we'll see if it's better now because I don't entirely believe that yet either.
We will. I might be right. I might be wrong. We're going to find out down the line. Okay, a couple of stories that I wanted to run through very quickly. We'll get more in depth in some of these a little bit later on. I thought that this one was interesting. Sports documentaries ever since the Rona back in 2020, which was 72 years ago. Sports documentaries have become like a big time business. We've always had like Hard Knocks in season. We've had the starting five. We've had some good ones, but now they're getting to the point where there's just 1,000 of them. You've got quarterback, you've got any given Saturday of the SEC, whatever. And that's good because most of them are pretty good.
The Kingdom.
The Kingdom. That's right on Disney right now. The one about the Chiefs. There's some that are good. I don't know why. As somebody who has been thoroughly enjoying a lot of sports documentaries over the past couple of years, and I'm wondering if maybe this is, and I think Lonzo will accuse me of this, and I will accept it because I can't say he's wrong, if this is like something inside of me rising to the surface. It was reported yesterday, announced yesterday, that Bill Belichick has told his players at North Carolina that Hulu will feature the Tar Heels in what he is describing as a season-long show that will, quote, showcase our football program, end quote. Belichick told his team, quote, it will show our commitment to winning. It will show our commitment to the team, and that's our priority. End quote. North Carolina opens the season Labor Day Monday against TCU in a college football version of Monday Night Football, and assuming that the Hulu cameras will be on the sideline to capture all of the hot Belichickian action. Also yesterday, I think it was announced, I think I saw this yesterday, and I don't know if I got meaned to death, but apparently old Billy Boy and his lady pal are having a baby, apparently. I gotta see if I can confirm that real quick. I meant to do that before we started the show, and I did not. That being said, I don't know if this is like an inherent bias that is showing through, because I really do I just Googled Bill Belichick pregnant to see if I could verify this story with a credible news source. And AI, Lonzo, just gave me the response, no, Bill Belichick is not pregnant. That is not physically possible for a male. Thank you, artificial intelligence. Clearly, that's what I had a question about.
Well,
clearly.
Sometimes you speculate on whether the AI is right or not. In this case, I think it's right.
All right, we will see what happens. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know if this is like an inherent bias rising to the surface or not. I have enjoyed the Any Given Saturday doc on the SEC. I have enjoyed Quarterback on Netflix. In fact, this year, I missed the last couple of years. I went back and I started getting back into Hard Knocks this year. I've enjoyed Hard Knocks, even if Lonzo's correct. There are definitely some scenes that have started to feel a little bit more scripted than others. Maybe that's just because some guys are really awkward around cameras. I don't know. All of that being said,
Belichick, remember, they were supposed to get this sort of thing earlier on.
They were.
I think it's a bidding war, and I think Hulu won.
They were going to do a college Hard Knocks because Hard Knocks wasn't going to do the NFL. And so Hard Knocks was going to shift down and do college football. Initially, they were going to do UNC. Then that fell apart. And the rumor was that Jordan Hudson was the one who killed off that whole plan. Like, she was like, no, Bill, we don't need to do this. I am curious to see. That's a great take. What is Hulu playing North Carolina? And on top of that, can you really blame, if it was a bidding war, North Carolina just gave it to the highest bidder? Can't really blame them. You got to have money to win the game, son. So if somebody says, we'd like to give you $1 gazillion to come put a GoPro on Bill Belichick while he coaches football, you let him do it, man.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
All right, time to see what is Xing. The first thing is Quinshon Judkins.
He did not get cut, did he?
He never signed.
Oh, that's right.
And so, according to the internet, so it's got to be true, he's eligible to play college football. So they keep showing this wrestling kind of run-in thing, and here comes Judkins out of the tunnels Saturday.
By God, that's Quinshon Judkins music. I will look this up today because I'm curious, because he's not the other one. The thought was when the kid from Texas A&M had his holdout with the Bengals, Shamor Stewart, when he had his holdout with the Bengals and it looked like he was not going to sign a deal, he went back to College Station to stay in shape back in his college football facility. And there were a lot of rumors going around that he was willing to come back to A&M if the Bengals weren't paying him. But if I recall correctly, there is a rule about how, when, and the way you declare that makes you ineligible to return back to college football. So I don't know that is true or not.
All right. The next thing that's Xing is Rondo.
As in Rajon?
Yes.
Rajon Rondo is trending because LeBron James, and what does this mean for his legacy?
No, he is according to the internet again, he is the top-ranked flag football quarterback in the country.
Rajon Rondo, the famous NBA point guard?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to tell you, Shane, I'm going to stop for just a minute to address what you are saying here. And if it turns out that this isn't true, Shane, you have ruined what the X is going on. Ian Rappaport has just hit the glass, Lonzo. This is absolutely glass-worthy. If you can find it in time, this is absolutely glass-worthy. Ian Rappaport reporting that the Carolina Panthers are indeed trading Adam Thielen back to Minnesota. Carolina gets, in return for Adam Thielen, a conditional 2026 7th and a 2027 5th. They get a 2026 5th and a 2027 4th. I hate this trade. I hate this trade. I despise this trade. This trade is this is the first Dan Morgan miss since he's been the GM. The first Dan Morgan miss. Unless Thielen just came to Dan Morgan and was like, look, dude, you got to get me back home, no matter what it takes. I'm not going to do my thing here. But there's been no rumor of that at all. You are sending Thielen a 7th and a 5th for a 5th and a 4th? So you're effectively trading Adam Thielen for a 4th-round pick. Really? The guy that has been the guy for Bryce Young, the guy that has been not just a security blanket, but has been the best performing wide receiver. And yes, he's going to shift down because Teteroa McMillan has now already proven he's a dog before he's played his first regular season snap. Put that aside. This dude has been the dude, the security blanket, the comfort in the storm for Bryce Young as he's been getting his ass kicked for a couple of years now. And you are sending him away for a 4th-round pick effectively? What is this? This is Dan Morgan's first miss. Honestly, I am going to say the Carolina Panthers just got worse. They just got worse. Now, maybe my conspiracy theory, let's put on our tinfoil caps, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe my conspiracy theory from earlier in the show, which I abandoned in like 2 seconds, maybe it's right. Maybe they said, hey, Hunter Renfrow, we're going to cut you, but we got something in the works and we're going to sign you back tomorrow. Maybe they believe that Hunter Renfrow can step in and just be Adam Thielen. I don't know. What I do know right now is that the Panthers, unless that happens, and they are right, and Hunter Renfrow shows up and balls TF out, this is Dan Morgan's first miss, and the Carolina Panthers just got worse. I guess we'll break this down tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show. Have a great day, everybody. I hope you all spend the time to celebrate Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and their engagement. It's a glorious day for love, romance, and hope across the United States. TAYTAY, congratulations. Taylor, Travis, all the happiness in the world. Y'all have a great day. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. See you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate later. Been there all along, so why can't you see you belong to me? You belong with me. Banger.
Ruined my ending, man. I had everything set up to that was going to be my last.
It was still perfect.
No, yeah, it was going to be my lasting Xing.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, you blame Dan Morgan.
Nope. Blaming Shane.
Blaming Shane. So I close Twitter when we play that game so that I can play the game, which is if I don't know why it's trending, I just either make something up or say that's boring and don't.
Well, they can hear you. I don't know why you're doing. I mean, you're giving away secrets.
That's not a secret.
What the heck is going on?
The game is I close Twitter and I tell you what's trending either because I know what it is or I make something up. So I didn't have that open, and then Shane hit me with that, and I looked it up, and Aaron Rappaport's got it as confirmed.
It really doesn't make sense, but unless it's, I think it was Joe who mentioned his age.
Yeah.
He is older, but I mean, I don't know. What if they don't bring Renfrow back?
At this point, I'll be shocked. Again, like I think you put 7 on there because you had to know. My bet is this deal was 95% completed yesterday, and so they kept 7 on the roster so that they could have that spot. And they probably told Hunter, like, we're going to cut you, but we're going to re-sign you tomorrow. I would not be shocked if Hunter Renfrow is not signed to this roster in the next 2 hours.
And for his sake, I hope so. And if they don't replace him, that is not good. As far as we know, it might be a perfect move. We don't know.
We'll find out.
Doesn't seem like it though.
Oh man! All right. Well, guess what, kids? We got a lot to get to. Maybe people are sleeping on David Moore. Yeah. So one of the other thoughts that I had earlier about the reason the Panthers kept as many as they kept on the wide receiver room on the roster is because I think that they have some level of expectations, hope, optimism, whatever you want to call it, of the guys they kept. And I think that David Moore is one of them. I think with Jimmy Horn, you kept Jimmy Horn because not only are you getting a young wide receiver who has a lot of talent and was successful in college, but you also get a kick returner. This is what I said this yesterday when they announced that they were cutting Blackshear from the team. I'm like, okay, that's because you got Jimmy Horn in the fold and he's going to be your kick returner. And I feel just as confident about that today as I did yesterday. So we'll see how that works out. So I think that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I'm honestly gonna work until we come in tomorrow, and this is not true. I'm gonna work on the assumption that Hunter Renfrow is a Carolina Panthers by the show starting tomorrow. We'll find out. We shall find out. All right, dudes und dudettes, your boy has stuff to do, so we got to jet. Thank you for being here. You're amazing people. You make the world go round. Like Travis and Taylor, I love you. Or however she does it. I think it's this. I think this is the new one now. Y'all have a good day. Tell your friends about us. We're trying to grow the show. We'd like to get rich, famous, and retired, preferably in that order. See you back tomorrow. Hasta luego.